Chapter 301. The Eternal City is the center of the Black Triangle, and all the wizarding forces yearn for this place. Lin has successfully entered the Eternal Wizard Hour. The first thing that catches his eye is a bright starry sky world, surrounded by an infinite universe. The stars are shining, and the atmosphere of chaos is permeating. The feeling given to Lin is eternity. An inexplicable pulling force pulled him over, and in a trance, he appeared in a huge space. Sitting on the seat, in front of him is a huge table. On the table is the 30th realm of the starry sky that Lin experienced just now. It seems that he has been upgraded to the real world in this room. The illusory figure gradually turned into reality, and a person appeared opposite Lin, a humanoid object with only a pair of eyes exposed. "Hello, Wizard Lin, this is the first time we've met, right? It's been thousands of years since the last time I met someone like this. The years change so quickly, and some of the faces in the Black Triangle have become unfamiliar. Get up, some old friends are gone too." The vicissitude's voice carried a sigh, and there was also a little sense of an old man waking up from a deep sleep. "You can call me Eternal." Lin looked at the Eternal Great Wizard and said, "I take the liberty to disturb the respected Eternal Great Wizard, because it is the first time I saw such an old wise man, and you, who possess the eternal power, had to act instinctively. Sorry." "Of course I understand that. Wizard Lin, you are still very young, really too young. To be able to reach such a level at such a young age is simply rare in the world. No, maybe in the entire wizarding world. There are very few people who can stand shoulder to shoulder with you in this age group." The Eternal Great Sorcerer hadn't carefully observed Lin's situation before, but now that he had a close encounter, everything was clear. At the age of less than 200, he was able to reach the third level. Even he was shocked. He thought it was an outsider from the road. This wizard is too young, and the traces of the road cannot be faked. The potential is infinite. The fiery color flashed in the eyes of the Eternal Great Wizard. This is simply the perfect inheritor. His current situation is very bad. It should be said that his step into the Eternal Realm is not perfect, and his path is flawed. A real inheritor is needed. In case something happens to him, eternity can be passed on. It is estimated that 30,000 years from now will be the moment when the catastrophe will come. Lin said indifferently, "Compared to the ancient wizarding world, those ultimate creatures are born as second-level wizards, and when they are adults, they are third or fourth-level wizards. I'm still too far behind. It's nothing at all." The eyes of the Eternal Great Wizard suddenly became very strange, and he didn't know what to say. Compared with the ancient wizarding world, that was the heyday of the wizarding world, and the level was fundamentally different. Those creatures have long since become extinct, or there are traces of them all over the world. This Lin is a bit misunderstood. The wizards at this stage can reach the third-level wizards within 2,000 years. They are already geniuses. In fact, even the Eternal Great Sorcerer doesn't understand why Lin's level has risen so fast, and the sacrifice to the evil god is not so exaggerated. The slightest changes in his heart appeared in his heart, and then he laughed at himself. For the first time, I actually felt envious and jealous. The realm of eternity is not perfect, I still have a lot of flaws. Soon. He cut off this meaningless emotion. Chapter 302. The level of the Eternal Great Wizard is very high, and the state of mind is naturally extraordinary. He has already reached the highest state of being untouched by external things. There are many names for the eternal state, which is probably the level he is in, and must have a state of mind. It's just that he is not perfect, so he will be surprised and more emotional about Lin's talent. If the Eternal Great Wizard's state of mind is perfect, there will be no touching, and he will always face rationally, judge the value of interests, and increase or decrease mutual interests. When Lin saw the other party's silence, He was not embarrassed or restrained. His identity and status were on the same level, even though Lin's current cultivation level was far inferior to the other parties. But the plague god mutation factor has infinite potential. It can be said that it has stepped on the road of infinite truth, and it has great help and potential. It may reach the level of the eternal great wizard. Respected eternal wizard, I want to be eternal. After listening to some of Lin's words, the eternal wizard did not refuse, but nodded. Yes. The eternal wizard city will always welcome excellent wizard talents like Lin Wizard to settle in. I will give you a large part of the authority and area. What do you think of those in the first district? The eloquence of the eternal great wizard is somewhat unexpected to Lin, but he knows that there must be a following, and it is impossible to let Lin settle in for free. Free is the most expensive, but Lin is not very worried. Everything is according to what the eternal great wizard said, and I naturally have no opinion. The great eternal wizard continued, of course, there is a small prerequisite for all of this. You need Wizard Lin to really join the eternal city. Lin's eyes moved slightly, but he didn't speak. He just looked at the eternal great wizard quietly. He was qualified to say no. The meaning of this sentence is to accept himself as a disciple, but Lin's interest is not as fanatical as other Black Triangle wizards. Although the realm of the eternal great wizard is very high, it is not impossible for him to reach it by himself. From the perspective, the chip has analyzed the information of the eternal wizard. A lot of time has passed. Hint, name, eternal great wizard, hog, level, 5th level great wizard, defective state, mental power, 500 plus, constitution, bloodline, none, path, mechanical, elemental. The opponent has reached the 5th level, and the Black Triangle is already the apex of the apex, and even in this wizarding continent, it is also the top. In the last Shadow City, Lin's status is not low now, and he has learned a lot of information and secrets about the wizarding world. For example, the Black Triangle is surrounded by colorless land, dragon territory, green sky original land, etc. continental area plates, but this area is still in the remote area of the wizard continent, only after passing through the Death Desert after that. This is the truly prosperous and prosperous place of this wizarding continent. Although it is possible to reject the great eternal wizard, Lin is still waiting for the other party's text. The conditions are definitely not only so many, the other party will definitely pay more benefits. A wizard who can reach the 3rd level great wizard, Janos, within 200 years has a completely different meaning from ordinary 3rd level wizards. If other wizards in the Black Triangle knew that Lin still had the idea of rejecting the great eternal wizard, they would have been jealous beyond recognition, and even vomited blood. Almost the entire Black Triangle wizard is staring at this position of the inheritor of the eternal great wizard. Once successful, it is the result of one step to the sky. A 3rd level wizard is a sure thing, and even a 4th level T has a great chance. This is the difference in levels. Donkey. Chapter 303. The eternal great wizard raised his hand slightly, and the starry sky world on the table in front of him immediately changed more. Originally, it was still in the stage of being shrouded in a light mist, but now this is no longer the case. The stars flowed inside, and the stars and Han could see it clearly. When the stars were shining, a face was gradually drawn. Lin felt something indescribable, very mysterious, faintly touching, very unusual. This is. The eternal great wizard just smiled faintly. The changes inside were going through the final stage. In an instant, Lin's eyes changed, a fiery color flashed by. 200 years later, I will conduct an eternal assessment, mainly to choose an inheritor of mine. I will not hide anything. My state is not right, and it is not complete. Looking for an inheritor is just to prevent all kinds of problems. 1. The eternal great wizard said softly, you are the best choice, but I will not force you, And there are still requirements. After 100 years, as long as you get the first place in the assessment, it will be yours. Forever yours. You have two choices then. After Lin walked out of the mysterious room, his thoughts were still on the item mentioned by the Eternal Great Wizard. It's really unimaginably generous. The starry sky world on the table is clearly an abnormal item. Although I don't know its specific function, it is obviously related to my starry sky road. It must be obtained. Lin went all the way to his own site, and was in the surrounding area of the Eternal Wizard Tower, even closer than the first level area, in the zero level area of the Eternal Wizard Tower. Among the conditions of the agreement is the construction of a wizard tower belonging to Lin in the area with the strongest spiritual tide, which is closer to the Eternal Wizard than those wizards in the Black Triangle. In contrast, the spiritual tide concentration is also the top. There are already Eternal City-related personnel waiting for Lin in front of the building, and there is no need for Lin to worry about specific materials and construction issues. The only thing to do is to put one's own mark into the core of the Wizard's Tower. Every month, there are some subsidies for resources, whether it is alchemy or pharmacy, there is corresponding support. It can be said that when the other two paths are promoted to second-level wizards, there is no problem, and the resources are completely sufficient. Behind it's up to Lin to figure out a way. All of this is just that Lin agreed to participate in the Eternal Assessment. As for the two choices, it is nothing more than standing on a united front with the Eternal Wizard. The other party values Lin's potential and believes that sooner or later the value of Lin and the benefits it brings are what the Eternal Wizard needs. A day later, most of the wizards on the third floor of the Eternal City were surprised by this news, and the wizard forces with third-level great wizards did not respond. After thinking of the three rainbow lights emanating from the Eternal City, the terrified promise shrouded the hearts of every wizard, and they did not dare to talk about this matter anymore. In the same way, Lin's identity has become a mystery. No one dares to enter the zero-level area at will, which belongs to the scope of the Eternal Wizard Tower, the forbidden land of the Jedi. Naturally, there is no way to know Lin's information, so he can only check it from other aspects. Of course, ordinary wizards wouldn't dare to investigate. After all, the Eternal Great Wizard was involved, and even Orlando of the Apothecary Alliance didn't know about it. As long as there is another great being who has come to the Eternal City, the relevant personnel have also been silenced by the Eternal Wizard. Chapter 304. The power of the Black Triangle, in addition to the Eternal City, is a great power with 5 major third-level wizards. Of course, if the Ring of Ouroboros is not destroyed, it is also one of them. The 3 alliances were formed by the Tower of Elements, the Dark Crypt, and the Blood of Machines. Under the leadership of the third-level wizard in the Dark Crypt, the new superpower was born. Among the other major forces, it is also one of the best, occupying the territory of the original Ouroboros, and the strength of its wizards has expanded rapidly. The resources are very abundant. The new and the old are replaced, and the Eternal City will not interfere for this. It will always stand there and be the core point of the Black Triangle. At this moment, it is on the 3rd floor of the Eternal City, the first district, which is District A. There is a special place here, which is the public area where people from the first district and outside areas communicate and meet. And some things that need to be discussed are all carried out in some hidden buildings and functional buildings here. In a functional building that only serves top wizards, the Eternal Coffee Shop, the uppermost room, several figures have arrived. Among them, the Dark Wizard, Issa, was the last to arrive. You are too slow, Issa. It stands to reason that you should be the first to arrive at this meeting. After all, it has more to do with you. A third-level wizard who was shrouded in darkness and did not know his true identity information said with malicious words. Your 3 alliances can be very troublesome. A wizard who can be treated seriously by the eternal wizards. Your three alliances have hunted and killed each other. They were originally members of the Aobras, hee hee. The dark wizard didn't change his expression, but said lightly, "Hey Jin, don't say these useless words. This time the discussion is about the follow-up impact caused by the arrival of the Tin, and whether there will be anything in the eternal assessment change." All the figures paid attention, and the great wizard called Black Gold also restrained, and snorted coldly. Then the 5 third-level great wizards standing at the apex of the black triangle began to discuss the situation of Lin. It was discussed from the morning to the afternoon, and when it was approaching the evening, the corresponding results had come out. When the several great wizards were about to leave, an eternal fluctuation of consciousness suddenly came here. Interpunct 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 interpunct. Their faces suddenly became terrified. Why did this happen? Why did the eternal wizard suddenly come to the door? Thinking that the target topic of their discussion was Lin, more ideas suddenly appeared in their minds. See the great wizard of eternal mark, I'm waiting for fear. 0. But before they finished speaking, this eternal wave was directly suppressed, causing all of them to lie on the ground, unable to move at all. This is the absolute difference in strength. The next day, another big piece of news spread. The 5 major forces in the Black Triangle announced that they were temporarily closed for 1 year, and the 5 third-level Great Wizards also released news of the closure. No one knows the details of it. On the other side, with the participation of Lin, the construction of the Wizard Tower has been successfully opened, and under the analysis of the chip, it is expected to be completed in 10 days. There is also a new discovery on the other side of the world. Chapter 305. 10 suns hang high in the sky, never changing, always constant, illuminating the heaven and earth in 10 directions with corresponding rays of light, and changing their ability to function. It also brings different landforms and corresponding characteristic races. Among them, there are many dangers hidden in wild areas and unmanned areas, and there are also some unimaginable opportunities. No. 90. En Shadow City. Lin opened the door of his shop. To his surprise, a figure was already waiting outside. Ilya, what's the matter? Inside the room, Lin entered the faceless head with that one dot which talking. The other party took off his mask and said softly, "Then I'll go straight to the point. I heard that you are looking for an extraordinary potion to break through, and it's officially level 2. Such potions are very precious, especially for increasing mental power." Lin listened quietly, waiting for her next words. What the other party said is indeed correct. According to the meaning of these words, it should be that she has this thing, and it should be some kind of profit transaction. What Lin said next was indeed the case. Oh. Life Transformation Potion. The second-level official potion can perfectly allow a wizard to transform at the level of life, and at the same time, the spiritual power will be relatively improved. Many first-level wizards in history have relied on this. The extraordinary potion has completely entered the second-level stage, and it has a miraculous effect on the outline of the inscription. Lin's eyes moved slightly, and he had to say that he was already moved. At this stage, it is difficult to find an official second-level medicine. As for the research on the chip, the world medicine will take a lot of time. You can tell me about your conditions. It's very simple. I need you to do me a favor, help me kill a person. I will return the life-changing potion to you. No. I will give it to you in advance. Then we only need just sign a contract. Kill who? Lin stared at Lu with burning eyes. To be able to make Elijah pay such a high price, the person to kill must be very difficult. My father. Lu said fiercely in her eyes. You are so filial. What? Cough cough. Nothing. Your father's information, strength and the arrangement of this operation. These should have been prepared by now. Lin said with a faint look in his eyes. There is nothing wrong with all this, but filial piety is powerful. Don't worry, I have already prepared all of this. I don't care what the situation is between you and your father, I and you are just a very simple transaction. I am responsible for making specific behaviors in this operation, and everything after that depends on you. 0, Lin explained the situation first. I know. Elijah nodded silently and said. After Lu left, Lin called out the chip to analyze the life-changing potion he got from the other party. Hint, the analysis task was established successfully. The analysis is in progress. The estimated time is 1 hour. The corner of Lin's mouth smiled slightly. It seems that this official second-level potion is indeed true, and it also has such different and complex effects, which is very difficult. He can afford to wait an hour. Chapter 306. He could afford to wait an hour. The degree of cultivation of bloodlines is also increasing day by day, but it is limited in the end. It is estimated that it will take only half a year to break through to the second-level bloodline wizard, relying on the bloodline embryo project that is researched by the deity in the real world. My inscriptions have already reached a very deep level, and I'm only short of the last few to advance. With this life transformation potion, the time at this point will be greatly shortened. I have a hunch that it will only take 2 months. It can be done. 30 minutes and seconds have passed, and Lin's wizard tower is gradually being built. It seems to be getting better and better. It is expected that in a few days, the basic framework will be built soon. In addition, Lin also felt some other calling fluctuations. He was overseeing the work, and the corner of his mouth moved slightly. It was his cheap disciple who actually called him. It seemed that he had collected the benefits agreed in the contract. It is considered that he has completed his own test, as well as the contents of the contract. With a thought, he separated a part of the plague god mutation factor, and found Kate following the connection in the dark. But the result was somewhat unexpected, and Kate encountered some troubles. The picture shows a small messy room. The floor is engraved with the pattern of the formation that communicates and calls Lin, with Kate's own blood and the magic stone placed on it. Teacher, I have completed your test and completed the contract, but I guess I can't hold on anymore. Those who are moved by their interests will come to the door. I am not their opponent. Even now I stand up, I have no strength. Kate, speaking to herself, vomited a mouthful of blood. In the corridor outside this room, more than a dozen first and second-level wizard apprentices who came to ask for trouble have already arrived. Kate's wrist was cut with a small cut, and only the blood flowing out can promote the existence of the formation pattern, and has the ability to weakly call for communication, but there is no trace of energy and spiritual power in his body, so he can only do it for the first time. According to Kate's current situation, there can only be one word to describe it, and that is exhaustion. It is possible to die at any time. Lin still watched indifferently, watching Kate kneeling in the formation, her breath gradually weakening. He roughly guessed some situations, perhaps starting from these magic stones and the wizard apprentices outside. This damn pharmacist really thinks what kind of character is Jai? He was injured and must not leave. If he dares to reject our Zijinhua family, he must pay the price. Tilda. The sound from outside came in, followed by the sound of the door being kicked open. A dozen figures rushed in. The leader sneered, looking at Kate's dead body on the ground, and spat in disdain. Then he saw the bag of magic stones with fiery eyes. This is the pharmacist who knows nothing about life and death. The savings over the years, the resources that can support them for a long time. Lin's eyes are inexplicable, but it's interesting. There's Zijinhua family. He remembered something, and he has a lot of fate with this Zijinhua family. Perhaps it is time to resolve this meaningless intertwining. Chapter 307. There seemed to be something wrong with the wizard of the Zijinhua family. Instead of trying to use the bloodline of the Zijinhua family to prolong his life, he died directly. But the strange thing is that the former patriarch of the Zijinhua family has become an official wizard again. The glory of the Zijinhua family continued once again. There are some tricks in this. Lin has a little curiosity, and the arrangement originally made on the second floor can be used. His arrangement was the faction leader of the underground world he had once recovered. His identity was low and he was responsible for some information transactions, contacts, and corresponding market transactions in the underground world. If you know about it, you will definitely be able to understand the origins of the future clearly. In addition, the construction of the Wizard Tower will take some time, and the corresponding experiments and cultivation plans must be temporarily suspended, just so that Lin can solve this small Zijinhua family. As soon as his mind moved, the soul body belonging to Kate condensed again, and appeared in front of Lin in an illusory state, which would not be observed by these people. See the teacher. Kate watched Lin shed tears excitedly, but because it was a soul body, there were no tears. You have completed the contract and the test, so you can officially become my disciple. So many years of experience have polished your mood very well. The next step is to solve these things yourself. Lin said lightly. The level is different. He is already disdainful to take action against the Zijinhua family again, which will be very cheap, because he is now at the stage of a third-level wizard. A third-level wizard in terms of soul level can also be regarded as a third-level wizard, with abilities that many third-level wizards cannot imagine, and they also have a corresponding focus. But I no longer have the strength to take revenge. Their Zijinhua family wants to take me back as their family alchemist, but how could I agree? My heart always has only the teacher's teaching and everything about the teacher. Kate said with unprecedented sincerity on her face. But Lin glanced at him with a half-smiling smile, and his heart felt hairy. Lin is quite satisfied with Kate's disciple. Even though what he says is so true, there is actually a purpose. It is nothing more than wanting to get some benefits from himself, or just wanting to be resurrected. If he is still the stupid guy he used to be, then he is wrong. If he still has the same mental state as before, he will definitely not be able to survive in the Eternal City. He has already analyzed a lot of things from the situation at the scene, as well as his own attitude and performance. Guessed that he must have a way to revive it, or else he would definitely not let it die directly. This is very good. As a wizard, the most important thing you must have is a brain to make calculations for yourself, and a calm will, to analyze the situation at any time, and to deal with it. Kate already has the most basic and most important essence of being a wizard. I will temporarily lend you my strength. Your body has not yet completely died. As long as you solve the corresponding things within a day, and then come back and bend over, there will be no problem. Afterwards, a glowing human-shaped object, Jianwuhao, was released by Lin. He couldn't see his face clearly, only a faintly visible face, full of extreme resentment and evil spirit. After some upgrades by Lin, the cursed puppet can be temporarily fused with the soul body, allowing it to obtain the power of the cursed puppet. Teacher, what are you asking me to do? Lin said lightly, you alone, go and destroy their Zijinhua family. Kate's face changed dramatically in an instant, and her eyes were full of disbelief. Play. Chapter 308. There's Eisenhower family has an official wizard. How could he do it alone? He has a deep understanding of the difference between a wizard apprentice and a full-fledged wizard. But looking at Lin's indifferent expression and the powerful power brought by the fusion of the cursed puppet, Kate felt less powerless towards the official wizard for a while. "Seems like you can try it," Lin said lightly. "This is the last test, courage and hard work. If you don't do it, you will be beaten to death by the official wizard of the Eisenhower family, or you can escape and then curse the puppet. When you separate, it's when you die." Hearing Lin's words, Kate's eyes were full of complex expressions, but thinking of his own experience along the way, his eyes became firm. "Teacher, I accept this final test. It's clean to die, and I want to go back and be scolded." The head of the wizard apprentices yelled, and spit it up in one mouthful, but before the mouthful of spit was spit out, an illusory white arm suddenly inserted into his brain. In an instant, his soul was caught, and then he withdrew. His pupils began to fill with gray, and the powerless corpse collapsed. "Boss, what's wrong with you?" Appearing in front of many wizard apprentices, it was Kate who had merged with the cursed puppet. I saw that his whole body was full of white light, only one face was still clear, and the killing intent in his eyes was undisguisedly released. He put the soul of the wizard apprentice pulled out of his hand into his mouth, then chewed and swallowed. This is one of the knee abilities of the cursed puppet, the power of swallowing. As long as it swallows more, it can continuously improve its own strength. Teacher is right, as long as I have the power of the teacher, I can kill even an official wizard. Kate's eyes fell on the remaining wizard apprentices, and a fierce light bloomed. "And you are the best nourishment. He killed the boss, let's run and report to the patriarch." However, the door that had been kicked open was now tightly closed, and no matter what method these apprentice wizards used, they could not break through. The only path waiting for them is death. The Purple Flower family. After the birth of the new official wizard, the glory will come again. Not only all the lost everything is taken back, but also more territory and resources. In the dark and gloomy room, the patriarch of the Eisenhower family, who is also the only official wizard, was looking at an object in front of him uncertainly. It was a very strange statue, with 3 feet, 5 arms, and a pair of large wings. It looked like an octopus head, and it shone with an inexplicable luster. The power of the gods allowed me to be promoted to an official wizard, saved the destruction of Eisenhower, and also gave me the reputation of killing my ancestors, but this is inevitable. But after all, this is a hidden danger, and no one should be allowed to know that I am contaminated with the evil god. Thinking of this, Huck is like destroying this statue. But just when he had this idea and thought, a strange blue light emanated from the pupils of the statue in front of him, which directly made Huck horrified. A terrifying thought gradually surfaced. The evil god was really uneasy and kind, and he did something to himself. Chapter 309. Brothers, isn't it May Day these few days, so the update is a little less. I went out to play, I'm sorry. I will resume the update tomorrow. The evil spirits are notorious in the wizarding world. Even every wizard apprentice knows the evil spirit's measurement, and usually destroys the corresponding evil spirits directly. But there are some people who can't bear the temptation of the evil god and become the puppet of the evil god. Although Huck had such an idea, he obviously underestimated the power of the evil god statue he had. Even if he had an idea about the statue, one made the statue feel sensitive. The faint blue light shone and reflected directly on Huck's face. His face was gloomy and uncertain, and he looked very ugly. Just because a spiritual thought was conveyed to his mind. If you want to live, do good things for me. Once exposed, you will surely die. Huck's eyes were inexplicable. This evil god statue turned out to have the same self-awareness of the evil god. It was not simple. He seemed to have fallen for the evil god's calculations. But just wanting to use this to control his Zijinhua family is too much. But just as he was thinking, he didn't realize that there was a lot of movement in the residence of the Zijinhua family. Also, how could he be able to detect when he was in the basement, not to mention that he spontaneously used the isolation formation in order to hide it, so he was even more unable to detect the situation outside. The power of the cursed puppet directly extracted the souls of all the members of the Zijinhua family in the huge space. With Kate's big mouth full, all the souls were stuffed into it. The quick digestion and chewing became the energy and storage of the cursed puppet. Almost all the members of the Zijinhua family were killed, and because it was night, Kate used the characteristics of the cursed puppet, and the attack was very covert. Empty. It's strange to say that Kate actually didn't see the head of the Zijinhua family. The only official wizard. It stands to reason that so many people died. As the head of the official wizard, he should have come out long ago. But no matter how much, with the teacher's promise, even if there is a big disturbance, there will be no problem at all. Interpunct 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 at the same time. Part of Lin's plague god mutation factor also came here, and instantly noticed some subtle things, and also learned everything. Is that so? Lin's heart moved slightly. It was the smell of the evil god again. Today is different from the past. He is already a third-level soul wizard. Far from this is what the evil god stature here can detect. Peeps at all reality from a different realm level. If I encounter that sky dragon again, I might not be so embarrassed. Lin recalled the scene of entering the inner world. The situation at that time can be said to be an absolute crisis. Anyway, to do things in the Eternal City, you have to find the Eternal Wizard to handle it yourself, such troublesome things. As for Kate's massacre, everything has a causal relationship, so naturally it doesn't take much. Furthermore, the Wizard's Tower is about to be built, and some experiments can continue. Among them, the flesh and blood embryo and the gate to the inner world are very important. Lin still remembers the old figure he encountered in the underground cave in that other world. Now we can finally find our way back. Earth. Chapter 310. Just when Kate was about to enter the deepest part of the Zijinhua family, the head of the Zijinhua family finally appeared. It's just that Huck's state is very wrong at this time, as if he is full of a special feeling that cannot be expressed in words. A faint blue light fills his face, and the lines outline a language. That's the real name, the evil god of the ocean, Sruk. Golem. At the moment of seeing the blue light, Kate's self-consciousness and mental power were disturbed, and an incomprehensible mental attack directly hit him hard. Even the white light of the cursed puppet continued to dim, and most of it disappeared in an instant. How is this possible? This is the ultimate power that my teacher gave me. It is comparable to a cursed puppet of the official wizard level, and it can't even block it. Kate's eyes were full of extreme fear, and at this moment, he felt the approach of death. He will die. Stay here. In the face of life and trials, he chose life impressively. He is no longer the fledgling Kate. He has learned a lot during the years of hardships in the Eternal City, and he also understands the importance of his life. He chose the answer, But that doesn't mean he can make the choice among the answers. Huck laughed horribly. Stupid little wizard, thanks to you, I was able to completely master this body. In order to repay you, I decided to crush your head mercilessly, and then drink your brain. Ha ha ha. Apostrophe. These evil gods seem to have some problems with their brains. The god of lust is like this, so is the god of flesh and blood Dilda. Apostrophe Lin watched everything that happened in another dimension, and his eyes became strange for no reason. Isn't this kind of jerky laughter the eve of the villain's inevitable defeat coming? The corner of Lin's mouth raised a slight smile, and he directly pulled his consciousness away from this place. When he left, he also passed a consciousness message to Kate's mind, and by the way, he helped him solve the spiritual pollution of the Tao. This level of evil god, even if it is just a consciousness clone, can cause extremely powerful whispering and babbling influence on wizards below the level of formal wizards, and finally become a madman with a mental breakdown, or become an apostle of the evil god, and gain some the power of evil gods and so on. But without exception, the end was tragic. Kate felt that a series of voices appeared in her mind, hovering and circling repeatedly, constantly affecting him, and soon he would completely fall. Zero. A faint voice sounded, dispelling everything. His teacher. A surprise flashed in Kate's eyes, and she quickly manipulated the cursed puppet to leave the Zijinhua family. There was a look of doubt in Huck's eyes, and he seemed unable to understand why Kate could not be affected. Now the evil god consciousness has been completely integrated into Huck's body. The strength is solidified at the stage of the official wizard, and the perception has improved, but it is impossible to find Lin and the almost ubiquitous eternal consciousness. Who is doing the trick? Huck's face was as if he had seen a ghost. At the same time, the breath of seawater permeated, and octopus tentacles grew out on his face. Then Huck, no, it should be Sruk's consciousness that saw a pair of eyes. Eternally movable, historical years. A torrent of history directly drowned him, completely obliterating his consciousness and becoming an idiot. The powerless corpse with white eyes fell with a bang. The soul has completely collapsed, and there is no possibility of any resurrection. If the eternal wizard doesn't make a move, he will be more ruthless than anyone else once he makes a move. It's a pity that it's too wasteful. If Lin shot, he would definitely squeeze out some value that would benefit him. Chapter 311. Brothers, I'm back, let's go to work. Today's sixth watch broke out. The third floor of the Eternal City, the zero-level area, that is, within the scope of the Eternal Wizard Tower. The Wizard Tower belonging to Lin is almost completed. Master Lin, you are here. Hello, Wizard Lin, we will strictly follow your request, please feel free to check. Some construction wizards who were under construction saw Lin's arrival and expressed their respect to him one after another. In their opinion, Lin's identity is extraordinary, and it can be built in a zero-level area. The attitude of the Eternal Wizard can already explain everything. Lin nodded slightly, watching a large number of wizard puppets carrying heavyweight construction materials to continuously improve the Wizard Tower. It's already at the stage of completion, and the Wizard's Tower will probably be built today. As for the internal structure, Lin needs to come by himself. When it comes to Ling, there are also some core formations, which are very private. It is not good for outsiders to set them up. From Lin's perspective, the entire Wizard Tower is very tall, covering an area 2 to 3 times that of a regular Wizard Tower, which is also according to the specifications of a third-level wizard. Although you can choose to build larger, but there is no need for this at all. Sometimes the construction of the Wizard Tower is not as big as possible. It needs to be constructed according to the wizard's self-style or some placement of the laboratory. The most important thing is to build the gate of the world, and the rules correspond to the convenience of exploring the world. The original experiment related to the gate of the world that Lin conducted in the Ring of Our Obras was really very simple. otherwise it would not have been a small secondary. The sorcerer has invaded in the opposite direction, causing some serious and irreversible results. Then, Lin dispersed all the builders and entered the wizard's tower. In the following time, Lin began to load his own wizard tower with internal programs, inlay some internal instruments, and arrange energy cores and energy lines. If the average wizard wants to build the wizard tower, and everything is ready, and the inner core is completely set up, it will take at least 10 years to do it. Lin sighed that this involved a lot of things, including the resources and connections accumulated by the wizard himself, and a lot of time and energy to complete it. And after the completion of it does not mean that the wizard tower belongs to the top. There is also a difference between good and bad in the wizard tower. The key is the speed of energy transmission, and the processing speed of the wizard tower core. As a very important existence in a wizard's life, the wizard's tower can act as an assistant for experiments, explore the return coordinates of another world, a good helper in defense of foreign enemies, and analyze and process some theoretical data. And when it comes to Lin, it's not difficult at all. Hint, the analysis and processing have been completed, and the regulations on the inner core structural components of the wizard tower have been completed. The energy pipeline fit has also been constructed. The following materials need to be used for a third comparison arrangement, which is the best and high-quality one cycle. Lin began to perform one-to-one mosaics, and the operation also released his own wizard puppet. As time went by, the inner structure of the wizard tower became better and better. I have a chip, and the chip is the largest processing core. If you hang any wizard towering, you can rely on the chip to operate. You don't need to search for the soul of an extraordinary creature to process it. There will be no self-consciousness. Entered the wizard tower. After the next day, Lin's wizard tower was finally completely completed. Chapter 312. Chip, start the wizard tower in an all-round way, start measuring the number of frames, run laps. And compare the 3-level wizard towers of the same level, scan the 5 third-level wizard towers in the area. As soon as Lin's thoughts moved, the entire wizard tower immediately burst into purple-black light. There is no doubt that the tower has added its own plague god mutation factor in it, and the blessings it receives will be even more terrifying. Hint, it has been completed at this time, and the corresponding data has been successfully worn on the host's retina. According to the measurement and comparison, it can be judged that the result is an all-round rolling. The host's wizard tower, the number of frames is the other 5. A third-level wizard tower is 10 times as much as the synthesis. Surprise flashed in Lin's eyes. What a huge amount of calculation, it's terrifying. This is the final result obtained due to the limitation of materials. If it were replaced with more rare and precious materials, the result would definitely be different. Then, in the 3 days he got time, Lin relaunched his experiment that had been stranded. Whether it is the Flesh Embryo project, or the official Extraordinary Potion Collection Plan, and the continued progress of the Alchemy of Life. Some of the invitations and things that were originally piled up, Lin also began to slowly deal with it. The land of alchemy, I need to go back to the party to attend the party, but this force is no longer so powerful for me. Lin already has the support of the Eternal Wizard, so there is no need to worry about the demand for resources temporarily. Only after breaking through to the 2nd level, maybe you need to collect resources. As for the path of his own soul wizard, the Eternal Wizard can't help him too much. That is something that can only be done by chasing the starry sky and sweeping the plague god mutation factor into more worlds. Lin placed his disciple, Kate, on the 2nd floor and gave some resources, which belonged to the stocking stage. In addition, he also gave him some information about the land of alchemy, and went to the party on behalf of his disciple. As for the knowledge of alchemy, he has already given some basics to him. After this aspect was dealt with, Lin set his sights on the pharmacist unions over there. It is said that at the end of the year, there will be a large-scale assessment, and all pharmacists can participate. At that time, the top 3 will have the opportunity to go to the headquarters of the pharmacist union for further education. This opportunity is rare. After all, the Black Triangle has an upper limit, and it is not a place where pharmacists can be brilliant. The official pharmacist is already the pinnacle, and subsequent knowledge of pharmacy cannot be obtained at all. Lin decided to take the test. Hint: there is a third-level Great Wizard from 3 alliances, Gloomy, Huck, and I propose a banquet invitation to you, do you agree? Lin was stunned for a moment. It was actually Huck, or he had friction with himself and the 3 alliances. In an instant, he thought of a lot, and a smile rose slightly at the corner of his mouth. He had already guessed some plans of the other party. There is no absolute hatred between wizards, but more intertwined interests. He wants to see what exactly this Huck is going to do, Jian Watsao. In fact, after the Eternal Wizard personally warned him, the Black Triangle had 5 third-level Great Wizards to understand one thing: Lin must not move. The relationship with the Eternal Wizard is very deep. Even if they really fight, Lin is not necessarily afraid of each other. They are all third level, and Soul Wizards are even rarer and weirder. Except for the Eternal Wizard, the other third-level Great Wizards have not yet discovered the ability of the Plague God mutation factor. Chapter 313. As one of the only 5 third-level Great Wizards in the Black Triangle, the Great Dark Sorcerer is naturally of the highest standard. Although it is not comparable to Lin's scale, it is very brilliant in appearance. From a distance, it looks like a huge black high platform connecting with the sky and the earth. It is a dark energy beam, which transmits the energy core of the entire Wizard Tower. It should be a very important experiment that Huck is conducting. Lin's mind turned around, and then he took out the invitation letter that Huck gave him. He was scanned by tearing within the range of the Wizard's Tower, and the transmitted light shrouded in it. The next moment, Lin was directly teleported to the Wizard's Tower. When 800 opened his eyes again, he found that he had arrived in a splendid and huge dark auditorium, with side-by-side seating, tall and transparent wall windows, faintly dizzy light, and the most conspicuous thing was the huge cross in the center of the auditorium. But the color is extremely dark, and there is no hanging person on it. A different atmosphere pervades, as if an ingenious wedding will be held here. "Welcome, Wizard Lin." A very hoarse voice came down from the highest part of the auditorium, and then a figure walked out. The Black Wizard's robe, the unique lace with dark light, seems to confirm the ups and downs of disillusionment and the mystery of darkness. This kind of light is very unique, and it seems to be interpreting something. If an ordinary wizard even glances at it, he will be affected by the above and become a puppet of this light, and he will not be able to get rid of it in his life. Longing for darkness, advocating darkness, entering darkness, becoming darkness. These can perfectly form the Dark Wizard Huck. Lin didn't show any sign of Huck's appearance. He just watched indifferently. Inside his body was the volatile Plague God mutation factor, which spontaneously resisted the influence of the opponent. This is not malicious, but a very normal thing released by nature and instinct. When you reach the third-level wizard, the extraordinary stage of inhumanity will be even greater. Even if you do nothing, just stand in the mortal world, it will cause subversion and shock of a continent. Imagine that a third-level existence, who died outside the technological world, just relying on his own corpse, caused such a great turmoil in that technological world. You can see one or two. "Hello, Wizard Huck." Lin smiled lightly, and his own Plague God mutation factor directly began to occupy this area in the opposite direction, removing the influence of the other party. Huck, who was under the hood of the wizard's robe, showed a little surprise in his eyes, but he didn't care, and was more certain about the decision in his heart. My banquet is held here, and I specially invited Wizard Lin to visit this grand wedding. To be precise, it is a miracle of the union of two creatures. Huck's words carried some deep meaning. It seems that this place and what is going to happen next are very exciting. I'll have to wait and see. Lin's eyes were deep, and he also took a deep look at Huck. Please come and watch. I want to hold such a great wedding, as a master of ceremonies. Huck raised his hand gently, and then a raised throne appeared next to the cross, with burning candlesticks and engraved patterns. All kinds of strange creatures worshipped, a strong mysterious atmosphere and a king. The breath spread out. Also invite Wizard Lin to witness such a banquet. Chapter 314. The throne is very huge, but the space next to the cross is not very large. It should be completely unstirable, but it is put down again. There is no difference in space, no peace, very reasonable, as if he was should be there. A light flashed in Lin's eyes. This throne is not simple, very mysterious, and people can't see through it, but he has a chip that can be scanned and analyzed. Tip: the scan task has been established, the estimated time is 10 minutes. Sure enough, it's not that simple. It takes 10 minutes to scan the chip. You can't underestimate every wizard who has reached a high place. They all have their own background. Of course, it is impossible for Lin to have stage fright. The chip needs time to scan, so he directly thought about it, and his body turned into nothingness and disappeared in place. The next moment appeared directly on the throne, and the body began to be reconstructed in a particle-like manner. This move surprised the dark wizards. An inexplicable color flashed in Huck's eyes. He couldn't do things to this extent. This Lin is very strong. Moreover, the origin is very mysterious, and it is still impossible to study what his means of movement are, and the whole person seems to have no energy fluctuations, just like an ordinary person. When Lin sat on the throne, a feeling like an electric shock appeared all over his body. His eyes became brighter and brighter, and he subconsciously looked at the dark wizard. The other party said with a chuckle, "The main purpose of inviting Wizard Lin to come here is to resolve the unnecessary conflicts between us, because the people below are ignorant. This is the Lost Throne, about a lost Guoju. I won't reveal the details, anyway. One of his most important functions, I think Wizard Lin has already experienced it himself." That's right. The moment Lin sat on the throne, he felt an unknown force beginning to affect him, pushing the spirit that was like stagnant water forward again. It's actually something that has an effect on third-level wizards, but to have such a heaven-defying effect, every wizard can only use it once in his life. Putting it outside is definitely a rare treasure that the entire Black Triangle will be robbed of its head. In order to resolve the conflict with Yara, the Dark Wizard has already made a lot of money. Interpunct 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 wizard Huck, it doesn't matter, it's just some minor contradictions. Lin said, meaning that it has already been revealed. Cannibalism is the shortest and softest. Hearing Lin's affirmation, Huck's eyes flashed with relief. He didn't want to set up an enemy of a third-level wizard. Then he explained, the wedding this time is very strange, it should be very helpful for the Wizard of Lin. It is about the miracle of living species. Two different extraordinary races, combined, so a new existence was born. Following Wizard Huck's remarks, Lin's heart was also amazed. If he did what he said, then this dark auditorium should also have special abilities, so that dogs can do this. Sorcerer Lin, it's already 11 o'clock, and the relatives who are watching the ceremony are also coming. Following Huck's words, there were a lot of shadows at the entrance of the auditorium and the windows, and rhythmic footsteps. Chapter 315. The floor-to-ceiling windows with dim light and the vertical reflections on the walls all began to show looming distorted shadows. The dim light fluctuated and appeared steadily on the seats in the dark auditorium. It looked as if an invisible figure had walked in and made it to the seat. Then the closed door suddenly opened, and there was a rhythmic sound of footsteps. It seemed that the guests from both parties had already arrived. Lin watched all this silently. It is impossible for the Dark Wizard to invite himself just to hold such a wedding, there must be other meanings in it. The focus is still on the miracle of the combination of the two species, and the premise is that it is an extraordinary creature. Some thoughts appeared in Lin's mind. His eyes were extremely deep, as if he had thought of something. Ring of Ouroboros. Species. Flesh. I see. This Huck really made a lot of money in order to solve the friction with himself. In order to show himself, he held such an auditorium banquet on the supernatural knowledge of flesh and blood. Bang, as the door closed, a different atmosphere appeared in the entire dark auditorium. Some dark elements converged to form unique and weird musical instruments. In Lin's perspective, it was somewhat similar to what the Dragon Lizard Wizard once showed him. Those instrumental creatures that have passed. The unique movement began to sound and began to play, which seemed to confirm the beginning of the auditorium, solemn and solemn. The presence of those on the seat also began to gradually solidify, as if they became more present as the music progressed. Gradually I formed illusory shadows. Lin's eyes moved slightly, but he couldn't see through the heels of these illusory shadows, as if they didn't exist in this world. It stands to reason that as a third-level wizard, he can already influence a world by himself. Of course, this world can only be a technological world, or a world without extraordinary power, a low magic world. In the wizarding world, third-level wizards still can't make a splash. The quality and density of various worlds are different, and the impact and destructive power caused are simply incomparable. Perhaps the Dark Wizard did it on purpose. After all, this dark auditorium is the opponent's home court, and now Lin is in the opponent's wizard hour. The movement reached a climax, and Lin's eyes gradually became serious, just because at this stage, the protagonist of the wedding should be present. As for the crucial extraordinary knowledge about flesh and blood, Lin is quite curious. It would be great if he could bring him some improvement. The King of Pole from the west, and the Shadow Princess from the east, under the witness of darkness, let's start the wedding of the century. The Dark Wizard's expression also became very dignified, and he said solemnly. At the same time, a dark-colored wand appeared in his hand, and two illusory circles were drawn. Soon two gates were formed, and there was something to come out of. Some more subtle breaths filled the air, causing Lin's pupils to shrink slightly, and his expression gradually changed. Chapter 316. BFFT. Some kind of indescribable sound, maybe it can only be called smooth, because it is similar to the kind of stuff that is stirring in the viscous sewer, which is full of all kinds of indescribable filth. In short, that is unacceptable to ordinary people. Even if the current Lin sees it, if he observes it, he has to sort out himself. In order to make one's own spiritual power incomparably thorough. He took a cryptic glance at the Dark Wizard, and praised him in his heart. This guy is really brave, and he is so courageous that he dares to be the wedding MC of this creature. It is estimated that it is because of this dark auditorium that the Dark Sorcerer has gathered some resources to become a third-level Great Sorcerer, and some 30 deeper things. Sure enough, No wizard is easy, and neither is the dark wizard. I saw two doors opened in the dark auditorium. In one of the doors, a huge figure came out, ticking. The viscous liquid fell, black, stench, followed by surging tentacles. The fleshy black tentacles fluttered in the air, and the true face of Mount Lushan had already come out. It was actually a meatball composed of various tentacles. Before taking a step, a large amount of liquid escaped. The ultimate spiritual influence begins to spread. The King of Pole from the west is ready, and next is the Shadow Princess from the east. Under the gaze of the mutant wizard, under the proof of darkness, let's become a combined pair. The dark wizard said loudly. Lin's expression was a little weird, but he still restrained his emotions and didn't show the slightest bit. This king of extremes has reached the third level in strength, but his appearance is a bit strange. According to the situation of the dark wizard, it shouldn't be two such species. Create people in front of your own face. Explain the miracle of life, the mystery of flesh and blood. In this case, it can indeed bring him great impact and inspiration. In fact, Lin really guessed right, and the reason why Lin sits on the throne is also somewhat different, because it is not so easy to control the wedding of two third-level existences. It takes a lot of energy from the dark wizards, and with the presence of Lin, it will have a greater deterrent effect, and it will not cause any trouble, and these guests will also be safe. Let the wedding go on safely. It's a multi-purpose thing. The Shadow Princess from the east also appeared, and walked out from the gate that shone with dim light. It was actually a viscous dark shadow without any form at all, just like a mass of mud. When the two sides appeared, the relatives on the seats also moved, and they seemed very excited. It's really a weird and magical wedding 800. The corner of Lin's mouth twitched slightly, but when the two are combined, what can be born and created? Lin is also very curious, because they are two different species of life. It stands to reason that new life cannot be born. It should be the special role of the dark auditorium that can facilitate this. Otherwise, these two third-level existences would not choose to find the dark wizard for such a wedding. Under the witness of darkness, under the gaze of mutation, the combination of shadow and pole has become the only one in eternity, which will never change. The dark wizard began to carry out complicated procedures and rituals, and the atmosphere of the audience became extremely solemn. Chapter 317. Time passed minute by minute, and the wedding in the dark hall continued until the final stage. In other words, under the gaze of many eyes, the two sides will give birth to a new life. The black shadows and the dripping viscous liquid tentacle monsters wrap around each other and entangle each other, seeming to produce deeper changes. With racial segregation and the fact that each other's strength is too strong, some restrictions make it almost impossible to give birth to a child. The next step should be the role of this dark auditorium, and the focus is on the dark wizard. Lin was incomparably profound, staring intently at what was happening in the field. Every scene, and let the chip record these pictures and changes all the time. Analyze. Analyze the process changes of the combination of the Shadow Princess and the King of Poles, and the effect of the Dark Hall. The Dark Wizard took a deep breath and seemed to sense that the time had come to a critical moment. He directly used his wand to tap a mark under his feet. The terrifying energy erupted directly, gathered in it, and distributed towards the entire dark auditorium until it filled every corner, as if it was charging before it could function. Now that the charging is complete, an effect from the third level and above comes directly. This is. Lin's pupils shrank slightly, and he saw two third-level extraordinary creatures that were originally meeting, but was affected by an indescribable force in this dark auditorium. It is a higher-level power that can change the boundaries of life races. The dark light is so bright and bright. The gaze of darkness, the brilliance of darkness. The Lord of Darkness protects you, your birth is permitted. Kai Kai. With the words of the dark wizard, a gust of wind appeared in the dark auditorium, raging and sweeping, and lightning and thunder were generated outside the window. It seemed to be hitting the dark environment shrouded in the dark auditorium. Faintly Jojo could see the flashing lightning. The great mutant wizard, I need your help to help me solve the raging wind in the auditorium. This is a backlash from the wizarding world, and it is also a disaster that breaks taboos. I need to fully support the operation of the dark auditorium, otherwise this will happen. A wedding is likely to fail, and the moment when the two children are born is the miracle of flesh and blood you need most. The dark wizard gasped and said, obviously he was very fortunate, there was a lot of sweat on his forehead, drop by drop. Lin pondered for a while, took a deep look at the dark wizard, and decided to help. After all, it was for his own benefit. And a deadly sense of crisis broke out outside the dark auditorium, but it was blocked by the dark auditorium, and the raging wind inside was a small problem. But it has also reached the third level. The relatives on the seat watching the ceremony, the relatives on both sides, began to put out the gust of wind, using their own power and playing their role. But it is obvious that the effect is not very good. The origin of this raging wind is illusory. The seats, the walls, and even the void are all showing signs of cuts. The raging wind of the third level is really underestimating me. Lin stood up from the throne. The effect of the lost throne on him has completely disappeared. The chip has also completely analyzed it. Chapter 318. BFFT. A raging wind blew past, tearing an illusory dark shadow into pieces, and only a miserable cry could be heard, but these relatives still silently blocked the front of the two third-level beings, no matter what came. No matter what the price they need to pay, they will not take a step back down once. It seems to have blocked the attack of the raging wind a little bit. Obviously, it will not last long. There must be a third-level existence to resist. At this time, a purple-black light flashed, forming a closed ring, wrapping the two third-level beings, including those relatives, and also isolating those raging winds. The ring is very ordinary, it looks like an enlarged version of the iron ring, but this is an extraordinary item refined by Yara, which belongs to the extraordinary item that perfectly fits itself, the mutation crown. The plague god mutation factor Gen, who usually hangs on Lin, now shows his power and easily resists the raging wind. After all, there is Lin's own blessing here, even if there are some third-level disasters, it can be easily resisted. The Shadow Princess and the Pole King continue their miracle of birth. Major Mutation Wizard, thank you so much. The Dark Wizard finally breathed a sigh of relief. If one is not handled properly, it will be the result of a complete collapse. Time passed slowly, and this strange wedding was coming to an end. Lin also got what he wanted, some key points about the knowledge of flesh and blood. It belongs to a new point beyond the original knowledge of flesh and blood, and the inspiration it brings makes Lin wish to conduct experiments on flesh and blood immediately. If the experiment is successful, applying the corresponding results to one's own flesh and blood knowledge, maybe it can be improved by a lot. My current stage is at the cellular level, followed by the genetic level, the molecular level, and the atomic level. Atoms are the foundation of everything. That is the ultimate source of flesh and blood. Hint, the host observed the birth of the flesh and blood of the third-level extraordinary creature, the progress of flesh and blood knowledge increased by 50%, and it has successfully advanced to the molecular level. As the doors of the two sides opened again, the Shadow Princess and the King of Pole, as well as the remaining relatives, disappeared in the dark auditorium. Sorcery Lin, I really thank you this time, please follow me. Come. The Dark Wizard has an unprecedented smile on his face. It seems that the success of this wedding can bring him a great change in benefits. Commit to presentation, and also reap benefits. Of course, Lin also got his own part of the benefits, which can be regarded as a happy result. The dark wizard snapped his fingers, and as the sound fell, the entire dark auditorium began to fold, as if the pages of a book were closed, from three-dimensional to two-dimensional. A new dark portal appeared, and the two walked in. The bright lights shone, the huge glazed roof, and the space inside the palace was very large. It seemed that it should be the place used by the dark wizard to entertain outsiders. The long square table, padded with white cloth and lit with white wax, has a unique atmosphere. Lin and the dark wizard sat opposite each other, and a large amount of food was brought up by the headless servants. The scent has begun to permeate. Chapter 319. This is not a simple meal. It should be said that the food above is very special and has its own role. Some items are similar to the items in the inner world that the dragon lizard wizard once ate, which can perfectly increase his spiritual power, but they also have relative limitations. At least for the current Lin, they cannot get any increase, at most only mental energy can be a little excited. Talk is better than nothing. Lin has already got what he wants. After simply dealing with it, Lin directly bid farewell. Lin, who returned to his wizard's tower, started his own experiment without much delay. With the activation of various wizard technology instruments, the flesh and blood embryos in the cultivation warehouse are gradually developing towards the good side. The energy is very abundant, and the spiritual tide between heaven and earth is also very turbulent. It seems that the flesh and blood embryos can be completely cultivated without the number of days in the original plan. A month has passed. It was also the most critical moment in the laboratory. Lin was refining a potion. This potion was nothing else but the life transformation potion given to him by Ilya. It was a second-level official potion and had a very powerful effect, which can greatly increase the success rate of being promoted to the second-level meditation wizard. But the difficulty of refining is also very big. It took Lin a full month, plus the assistance and analysis of the chip, to calculate that relying on his current pharmaceutical level, he can completely refine this extraordinary potion. Spiritual energy continued to pour out, and the beaker in front of him had maintained the temperature to a very rare height. Then, Lin's spiritual power joined in, controlling his spirituality to let the corresponding medicinal effects play to the limit, which was also birth. Extraordinary power. The point of life lies in this. If the medicine has life, it means that the level of this pharmacist is very superb, reaching an unprecedented level. With the help of the chip, Lin has no joy and no sorrow, and fully participates in his spirituality. As time goes by, the color of the liquid in the beaker is constantly changing, and soon from the original turbid color, it has become the pure white recorded in the knowledge of medicine, with a bit of gray color. It seems that he succeeded, but Lin did not take it lightly, and calmly maintained his mental strength in a very tense state. Only after hearing a puff sound, Lin breathed a sigh of relief. The life transformation potion has finally been refined successfully. Hint: life blooming potion, quality, perfect, level, second level official extraordinary potion. Function: it can perfectly restore the user's interpunct 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 interpunct. Lin looked at the medicinal liquid rippling in his hand, thinking about the father that La said had to be killed. Almost the days are coming soon. The location is in the inner world to carry out an attack and killing, so naturally, only the clone can make a shot. the official wizards who entered the inner world. Some entered through avatars, that is, consciousness and part of the soul, and some were constructed from the flesh and blood of the inner world. 0. Such a wizard clone is not very powerful. One can be said to be the weakest one, but it is more secure. If something happens, the main body is still alive. Similarly, the duration of the inner world is not very long. But if the real body enters, the relative situation will be greatly prolonged, but the danger will also be greatly increased. Once you die, you are really dead. You must also pay attention to the duration of your stay in the inner world. In this way, that Ilya's father should be the chosen real body to enter the inner world. Lin's eyes were faint, but it didn't have much to do with him. He was just a mission, responsible for what he should do. As for whether Elijah can kill the opponent, it depends on his own ability. Earth. Chapter 320. To be precise, Lin has 4 promotion routes. The plague god mutation factor on the soul, the cursed wizard on the path of meditation wizards, the bloodline of the cursed snake on the blood wizard, and the slightly slower progress of the star wizard path. At this stage, after the life transformation potion is successfully refined, it is also time to improve the progress of meditation. Go up to the 2nd level. Balanced development is the best. In the closed room, Lin was in the endless darkness. As soon as he took the life-transforming medicine below, it was quickly digested as the medicine flowed into his abdomen, and then it exerted its effect. It rapidly increased Lin's spiritual power and the speed of meditation. In an instant, the world in his eyes changed, and in his own meditation world, it was still an endless ocean, with a brightly lustrous cursed core inscription floating in the sky. It was a core wizard spell that had been constructed. The strongest, even with the help of the source of conjuration, can achieve the most powerful wizard spells in the 2nd level. Lin didn't hesitate in the slightest. He had to draw the remaining curse inscriptions while the medicine continued to work, and step into a new realm. Of the original curse inscriptions, one of them has already been outlined, and the rest of the progress is very slow, but with the support of an unknown spiritual force, it continues to push, and the speed is very fast. Quick! This time, I will definitely be able to advance to the 2nd level wizard. Lin's eyes were full of confidence, and he began to draw his own curse inscription with full concentration. In this way, Lin began his retreat life. As time went by, the progress of the outside world was also self-development. In the world. Lin pharmacy, no, to be precise, it should be an alchemy shop. After all, alchemists are more popular than pharmacists in the inner world, and vice versa. There is a point where the corresponding existence shines. Lin began to clean up some of the top spots in his shop, and communicated with the Wizard City's computing core to spread the news that Lin's alchemy shop would be proofing for a few days. The next step is to prepare some necessary alchemy props, and listen to Lin tell me that her father is a 2nd level wizard who is not weak, and this time entering the real world is also entering the real body. You must be careful. 0. Although Lin is a clone in the inner world, it is better not to consume it. Some special combat potions, some special alchemy aids, and Lin's main responsibility for trapping the enemy and delaying work, as well as some weakened auxiliary conditions, the corresponding items needed. Lin is accurate and complete. This time, it can come in handy, my old buddy. Lin took out a small thing from under the cuff. It was a special scarecrow doll the size of 2 palms. Its appearance and body were very lifelike, like a real human being. With the news that Ilya provided her father, Lin naturally created such a curse medium with ease. With this cursed doll, which is connected to Ilya's father, Lin can directly cast the curse at that time. A wizard spell that weakens its status. No. Maybe I can add some means to use some special wizard spells, such as my core wizard spells. After playing during the day, I will make up for it at night. after 12 o'clock. Chapter 321. In addition to wanting to try his own core wizard spells, Lin also gave Ilya too much. She actually promised that if she killed her father, she would give Lin the priority to choose one of the things she got. And her father's body will also be promised to Lin. All of this is done by signing the corresponding wizard contract in advance, and there will be no mistakes. Lin licked his lips, with undisguised greed in his eyes. The wizard's pursuit of profit was etched in his bones, and he was no exception. If there are more than 30 corpses of a second-level wizard, in contrast, the deduction of the meditation method for the second-level wizard period will speed up the time. Originally, the chip had found a lot of things by relying on the corpse of the Wizard of the Stars, and deduced 2 wizard meditation methods, which can be practiced at the same time without any conflicts and side effects. However, it is still in the early stage, and the follow-up deduction time is relatively long. One more second-level wizard corpse can speed up the deduction time. It is shortened to 20 years to obtain 2 wizard meditation methods that can reach the 3rd level. This hunting mission must be successful. Lin has already decided that if Ilya himself can't kill the opponent with his assistance, then he can only do it secretly. The difference between the night in the inner world and the night in the real world is that at night in the inner world, the nocturnal light is also a dim color of the corresponding color of the sun during the day, and new dangers will be born. It is also a no man's land, and some special races in the wilderness are active time. Within the area of No. 90 from End Shadow City, it belongs to an area within the range of a mountain range. There are some harmless creatures in the world living here, forming their own population and tribes, and developing extremely well. Their elders have forearms and are humanoid races with their own culture and beliefs. Tonight is the day when they hold their religious sacrifices. With the burning of the torch, there is a relatively large altar under the huge arch. The four-handed people kneel and worship the center of the altar, a spontaneously rotating diamond-shaped crystal. An invisible wave radiated out and then connected to the arch above. Keep continued, and the supply of energy is naturally the spiritual power of these four-handed people, which is the so-called belief. This is the handwriting of the wizard, and it seems that he has a very deep research on belief, and relies on belief to supplement his strength. The glossy color on the rhombus crystal is almost full. It is like a charger. Once it is full, it will emit a lot of energy into the arch above. The result is the existence behind the arch and come to the inner world. In this grand sacrificial banquet, in the corner, there were 2 four-handed tribesmen with indifferent expressions, and they did not follow the sacrifice, but instead watched with cold eyes. Ilya, I have already made the corresponding preparations. Those four-handed tribes have my means buried in their bodies, and they will be directly given to your father. Haru will be weakened, and one's strength will not be able to exert 30%. And the spiritual energy in the body will also be greatly descended. The next is up to you. I know this. I've been waiting for such a day for an inexplicable amount of time. The four-handed clan that Ilya transformed into, with extreme hatred in their eyes, and Lin were conversing with consciousness. Soon, the sacrifices of the audience reached their peak. The spiritual power from these four-handed tribes directly affected the diamond-shaped crystal in the center. Kai. The dazzling white energy beam was injected directly into the arch, which attracted the members of the four-handed clan to think it was a miracle, and they all knelt on the ground and kowtowed continuously. Chapter 322. When the energy was at its peak, the huge arch also shone with a restrained luster. With the passage of time, the luster became brighter and brighter, and an illusory gate projected in the center of the altar was formed. In just a few breaths, it was completely solidified. This is a great miracle, the source of the four hands, the great god of Haru. The great god of Haru. The great god of Haru. All the four-handed people around the altar kowtowed and shouted frantically, even if their heads were bleeding, but they were proud of it, thinking that the god of Hera could see their sincerity and accept their beliefs. Kai Kai. The energy light was constant, a powerful breath burst out from it, and then a figure came out, a black wizard robe, holding an ancient object in his hand. It seemed to be a metal sign, relatively large, engraved with unique texture. Lyn clearly felt Ilia's trembling body and her undisguised desire for that metal sign, as if it was something related to her life. Similarly, hatred is involuntarily radiated, and I wish I could go up and tear Haru to pieces. Don't be impatient. If you can't even do the most basic calm, how come you can kill Haru? Lyn used his consciousness to transmit sound. Hearing this message, Ilia calmed down. She tried her best to restrain her killing intent in her eyes. At the same time, she turned to another direction to prevent Hera from noticing. Ignorant and ignorant natives. Your role is to pay insignificant beliefs for my arrival. Under the wizard's robe is a middle-aged man with a shady face, and in his eyes there is the essence of using everything. Now, for my stay, give your life, soul and flesh and blood can bless me with a lot of combat power, and restore to the peak period. Even if I pass through the passage of the inner world, it will be no problem. A cruel look flashed in Haru's eyes, and the next moment he went directly to his right hand, and a dazzling sea blue light flashed across the adoring gazes of the four-handed clan. Whoops! The sound of the waves rang out, and an invisible force swept through them, and the surrounding environment was also covered with a layer of ripples of sea water, which directly wrapped all the four-handed members on the altar. The next moment, Hera squeezed lightly, and one after another shark heads appeared in the ripples of the sea water, swallowing all the corresponding four-handed clan members. This is the most obvious feature of second-level wizards. Part of the environment is alienated, which can form things similar to the realm. However, the scope of influence is very small, and it can't cover much, and when it reaches the third-level wizard, it is a new world. There was a look of contentment on Haru's face, a hint of blood red flashed, and he didn't waste the writing he left here. This is the backhand he specially set up. There are many more in the inner world, and it is within the scope of Ender City. Because outside the Ender City world, there are wilderness and no man's land, the danger of variables and encounters, good money, may be too great. This time, my pathetic daughter, see where you can escape. Your fate can only be doomed to become the sacrificial bloodline and immortal soul on the Atlantis stone slab, used to open the Atlantis treasure of Landis, like your mother. Pull. Did you say so, my daughter? Hera looked directly at the two four-handed clan members standing in the distance, with cruelty and greed in their eyes. Chapter 323. As a second-level wizard Haru, he has unprecedented perception ability. After devouring all the members of the four-handed clan, he naturally noticed the difference between Lyn and Iliad. It's time to start, Ilia, do what you want to do. Lyn smiled lightly. Then the body began to change, returning to its original image. So you have found a helper. Do you think that you can rely on your own destiny? It's really whimsical. Hera said with a sneer, but you are really heartless. Those wizards of your family are suffering, and you actually entered the inner world to avoid it. You really shouldn't. Ilia's disguise disappeared immediately, and she said indifferently, today you will die in my hands. Haru, everything you have done to us, I will settle it one by one and return it back. You seem to be telling the funniest joke in the world, Ilia. It seems that your long absence has made you lose your most basic respect for your father. Hera's eyes were full of killing intent, without the slightest sign. The area where Ilia was located was instantly filled with the breath of seawater, and the ripples of the seawater began to wrap. Do you think that if you find a helper, you will have the capital to fight against me? You are just dreaming. The garbage of a first-level wizard, even if you find 10 more, it will still be garbage. I will let you know what is real. Despair. Kai Kai. The seawater field has been fully developed with Haru as the center, and the surrounding 300 meters distance has been successfully wrapped. Some buildings and the surrounding environment are also dreamlike, and it seems that something has changed. Lin looked at the ripples of the seawater under his feet. It seemed that there was indeed seawater. He stepped on it. It was very real. He could fall into it, and many fish were swimming. The realm of the second-level wizard, no matter what kind of path it is, there is a corresponding means. If Lin wanted to, he could set up such a field in an instant. He took out a puppet from his cuff, and began to do it leisurely. I seemed to be shaking the puppet, and seemed to be preparing something. Dozens of sharks appeared in the seawater field and directly bit La. However, it was easily burned to ashes by the expanding and burning flames. La sprang out of the flames, and a bright silver dagger appeared in her hand, stabbing Haru's throat directly. Barbarians are barbarians. Even if I add my wizard bloodline, I still can't rely on that vulgar barbarian fighting style. Your sea clan should be equated here, just like the dead Atlantis. Haru said disdainfully. The sharp part directly penetrated his chest, but his expression did not change in the slightest. I got you, Ilya. The smile on Haru's face was extremely ferocious, and then he was kicked away, and his outstretched hand froze. What's going on here? How could he have the slightest hesitation? What was that moment of stiffness? Haru, who had rolled a dozen laps in the seawater domain, stood up in embarrassment. His eyes were extremely fierce, and he looked at Ilya fiercely. At the chest, a black heart fell directly out and was penetrated. The above records and dense incantations, but the bright silver short sword is very unusual. It directly killed everything, and all vitality was wiped out. Chapter 324. Ocean Holy Sword, that old witch left some good things for you. Haru wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He didn't care about the fall of his heart at all. His face was fierce. He took out a new heart directly from the metal plaque in his hand, which was also covered with incantations. This seems to be an extraordinary item of space type. And Haru's body has been transformed, and some of the original weaknesses are no longer weaknesses, and can be replaced at will, allowing him to disguise as the key. I knew I should have killed you all. A group of despicable barbarians also want to get involved in the great blood of wizards. Your life really makes me extremely sick. There was undisguised disgust in Haru's eyes, and his body returned to its peak again. This time, Haru did not rashly start attacking, but there was doubt in his eyes, and he began to carefully recall what happened just now. He has clearly caught the other party. Why does he have that momentary pause? Why is this? Ilya obviously wouldn't give Haru time to figure out this question. Holding the silver dagger, she walked towards Haru step by step. The seawater field began to churn, and a large number of sharks gathered around Haru. Under his command, they bit towards La. The surging waves are very spectacular, and everything hidden under the water is like a deep version of dark fear, giving people infinite reverie. The silver light shone in the air, chopped the sharks that came up into 4 sections, and blood splattered in the air. Ilya's figure was distorted, and he appeared directly in front of Haru the next moment. He seemed to be following the path of a wizard assassin. His stealth ability and speed were extremely terrifying. Ordinary wizards might not even be able to react and were directly killed. Kill on the spot. With that short sword that can wipe out all vitality, this is definitely not just 1+1, but extremely terrifying. Giggle. Don't be too arrogant, my daughter, I know all about your abilities. Haru stretched out his hands, and a huge sea blue light ball appeared in front of him, rippling with inexplicable light. And the next moment, it directly turned into countless water currents. Go. Kai Kai. The water flow is very special, The speed is very fast, and it hits the building and bursts directly. If it hits Ilya, it is obvious that the result will not be very good. Interpunct 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 interpunct. Lin estimated that the time was almost up, looked at the doll in his hand, and directly stabbed a black needle into it. Haru also reacted immediately. The heart in his chest suddenly burst spontaneously without warning, and a big hole was opened in his chest, as if an invisible existence was attacking him. How come, the damn thing has appeared again, with a force? 0. Haru covered his chest and knelt down on the ground tiredly. He quickly took out a spare heart from the heart of the ocean and put it in his chest. His face looked better. Someone must be playing tricks. Haru fixed his gaze on Lin, who was holding a doll beside him. I can't go wrong, I can't go wrong, it's definitely this guy who is playing tricks. The doll in his hand can affect me. Damn, what kind of means is this? Haru, who was originally calm and relaxed, can't sit still now. Lair is irrelevant. He has many ways to do it, but he can't see through this guy. Very fearful. It may be able to threaten his life. After realizing it, Haru also discovered a more terrifying truth. Earth. Chapter 325. That is, I am a second-level wizard and can easily crush first-level wizards, but today, when I was fighting against this cheap servant, Ilya, I felt unprecedented pressure. I actually felt the pressure. Anger appeared on Haru's face. It was impossible. What was the problem? Facing Ilya's re-attack, Haru sank directly into the seawater field under his feet. The chest part of his wizard robe was split in half, and it was almost cut in half. However, now that he has a geographical advantage, he can handle it with ease, and gradually calm down, and finally found out what was wrong. It's that first-level wizard, the helper brought by Ilya's cheap servant, who has been watching the battle, without the slightest movement or action, but I can feel a sense of crisis everywhere, and the biggest crisis is from him. Haru's eyes fell on the sea, and where Lin was. His puppet was extremely clearly visible. The medium, it's him, and even my strength has been greatly weakened. Kill him. The fierce light in Haru's eyes skyrocketed. He swam directly towards Lin, and took out a blue piercing spear from the heart of the ocean. The siren's gun directly kills all his chances of survival, so that he can be at peace. The feeling that Lin gave to Haru was so strange that Haru had to do his best. Lin waved the puppet in his hand gently, and some special things were smeared on it. Of course, there were some stuffed things that Haru ate, which could weaken his strength and make him invisible. There is a high probability that Ilya will still be able to fight Haru. The rest is to continue to cast the curse, suppress more of Haru's strength, and even cause backlash and damage. Seal the limbs, now. Lin smiled slightly, having made a decision. Suddenly a subtle smile appeared on his face. That's right. Did you find me? He could already feel the murderous intent transmitted from his feet. And it was a murderous intent with a fatal death crisis. BFFT. The water waves rose one after another, and a blue light shone, and the sharp point pierced directly towards Lin's heart. La also discovered this. Yeah, and be careful, his target is you. However, it was still a step too late, and the siren's spear pierced Lin's heart. Just die. Lin's heart has been pierced. His face is still calm. He gently takes out a black needle and inserts it into the heart of the doll in his hand. Zero with a smile on his face. Haru's smile instantly stiffened. You. His heart was actually destroyed again. Each other, you stab me and I stab you. It's normal, isn't it? Lin looked at him with a smile, with the siren's spear stuck in his chest, and the image was very powerful. This is impossible. Haru looked at Lin as if he had seen a ghost. Are you ready? Then I'm going to continue. Lin said with a smile, then took out a black needle and pierced the doll's brow again. The next moment, the power of the curse erupted, and Haru's head exploded directly, and his brain tissue splattered. Ilya 2.9 looked at this scene, her mouth was almost closed. How is this possible? Haru is a second-level wizard, but the culprit who destroyed their Kraken clan, Great Demon King. He was killed by Lin so easily. Ilya's pupils are shocked. She can't imagine. She already has the idea of death, and has the determination to perish together. Interpunct. Chapter 326. But the actual results are often beyond everyone's expectations. Lin Chenghe successfully beheaded Haru. Lin knew that a second-level wizard would not die so easily. He also sensed the dim life breath of the other party. Kai. The blasted head, the scattered flesh and blood tissue reassembled, and assembled into Haru's intact body. Who the hell is this guy? Why do you have such a strange method, and how did you do it? Haru asked. His condition is not very good, after all. He really died once just now, such a huge repair. The consumption of power is not trivial. The guy in the purple wizard's robe in front of him is really too weird. To be able to directly inflict damage, from the stone puppet to himself, is simply incomprehensible. The medium is the doll. As long as the doll is stolen, there will be no problem. Haru's eyes flickered, and he already had some judgments of his own in his heart. The strength in his body can still support the resurrection 4 or 5 times, enough to snatch that doll over. After all, the other party is only a small first-level wizard. Whoops. The ocean domain played its role again, and the overwhelming waves lifted up and drowned in all directions. In the blink of an eye, huge waves with shark heads formed. The technique of water shark bullets. Haru's body merged into the seawater, and directly combined with the seawater field in a deeper way, and his body also turned into seawater. The entire seawater field has once again spread by a third, covering most of the four-handed living area. Ilya said with a shocked expression, although in the inner world, the magic power of wizards will be reduced a lot, but the difference between second level and first level is in the domain. When second-level wizards are completely integrated with the domain, we can't attack his body at all. The real body, the entire field can be counted as his body. Yeren, what should we do now? If we can't attack the opponent's body, the opponent can attack us and will be defeated sooner or later. La didn't seem to realize that she had unknowingly handed over the dominant position to Lin. Although the plan was made, when the actual situation came, it was still very different. Alternative elementalization. But, my method is aimed directly at the depths of the soul, higher than elementalization. The corner of Lin's mouth raised a slight smile. Then he stabbed the black needle in his hand into the puppet again. The target was Haru's eyebrows, and a direct hit was fatal. Haru's body was originally integrated into the ocean domain, and he felt an unprecedented ease. Suddenly, a sharp pain between his eyebrows hit him. This made him startled. He was already territorialized, so why would he still be attacked? No, I'm not reconciled. I'm not reconciled. Haru died again in despair. Then the seawater field shrunk by a third, and Haru was resurrected again. I can't even die. Ilya was horrified. She found that she knew too little about her father, and the means of dealing with it was still too one-sided. Perhaps the weaknesses she knew were revealed by the other party deliberately. If it wasn't for Lin to be here today, the king of Quanglan, I'm afraid she would definitely die. It's really deep to hide, but with Lin here, let's see how you die. Ilya looked at Lin with tenderness. A strong man is what all women seek. Lin shuddered and looked at Ilya subconsciously, and was surprised by the overly hot eyes of the other party. Chapter 327. This woman seems to be thinking something. Lin's eyes moved slightly, but he ignored it. He took out another black needle and pierced it into Haru's body. No. What the hell did you do? I don't want to die. I don't want to die. How could I die here? It's here again. The feeling of death is here again. Damn it. Every time Haru dies, Lin needs to consume a black needle, but looking at the incompetence and fury of the other party, it should not last long. Lin had prepared at least 30 of these black needles. The so-called preparedness, but he never thought that he would actually use them. Otherwise, with the strength of Lin's avatar in the current world, it would be really stressful to deal with a second-level wizard. Haru died again. He was afraid. The sense of crisis of death shrouded in his soul, and if it continued like this, he really couldn't be resurrected again. The other party's attack seemed to touch his soul. If it wasn't for the persistence of the heart of the ocean, he would have already died. The reason why it can be resurrected is because there is a large amount of life essence in the heart of the ocean, and even the collapse of the soul can be stopped, but the stock is not much, and it is almost exhausted. Don't pierce anymore. Please let me go. Please. Haru watched Lin take out a black needle again and was about to pierce it. He collapsed completely, begging for mercy, surrender. I'm willing to recognize you as Lord and release the imprint of my soul. Please. Just take my life around me, I'll be a cow and a horse for you. This is his last life. If he dies again, he will die directly and cannot be resurrected. Lin's eyes were indifferent, and there was no change in his expression at all. Under Ilya's nervous gaze, he plunged directly into the doll. I curse you not to die. Haru screamed, his head exploded, and his soul was completely torn and annihilated. The dead can no longer die. Ilya finally breathed a sigh of relief. The temptation was great. If a second-level wizard was a servant, she would hesitate to consider it herself, and naturally she would be worried about Lin's thoughts. But seeing that he killed Haru without any hesitation, Ilya's heart also trembled. What a principled man! Such a charm. Haru died. He died very simply. The ocean domain disappeared, and the corpse still existed, that is, the head disappeared. Ilya's face was full of miscellaneous flavors. A second-level wizard, who was so majestic in the real world, died here so ignorantly. If it spreads out, I don't know how big a shock it will cause. Lin said, according to the agreement, I will have Haru's body, and I can pick an item first. This is natural, Zhao of Gain. I will abide by all the promises. The most important thing is Haru's death. It's good to die, it's good to die. Water appeared on La's face, as if thinking of something sad. It's rare for a wizard to have such a strong feeling. Maybe something sad happened to him. Lin has probably guessed a lot. The next step is to divide the spoils. This time it is a complete success. Chapter 328. In fact, the most valuable eye in Haru is of course the body, the other is the heart of the ocean. After systematic analysis, it seems that it is the treasure of the Lost Kingdom. The legendary Atlantis. Lin is not very concerned about it, and has no intention to explore it at all. He was too lazy to fight with Elijah, causing estrangement. I have enough resources, all I need is time and a breakthrough. Apostrophe in Lin's mind, his thoughts flowed slowly, and he already had a proper plan and arrangement. After a short period of time, The division of Haru's spoils has been completed. After killing Haru, La has already accomplished the biggest thing in her next life. Obtaining the heart of the ocean was completely unexpected. She quickly returned to the real world. 810 is probably dealing with some important things. And Lin also returned to the real world with Haru's body. The time he has brought in the inner world is enough, and if he stays longer, the consumption will greatly exceed the gains. Lin also needs to return to the wizarding world to rest and summarize his gains. On the third floor of the Eternal City, in the Wizard Tower where Lin is located. In the laboratory, all of Lin's clones have returned to the main body. At this moment, Lin is in an unprecedented heyday. Lin put Haru's corpse in the storage warehouse of the Wizard's Tower, and used the chip to deduce and analyze it. Then, Lin's thoughts moved, and he clearly unfolded his data panel. Host, Yeren Harak rank, First Level Wizard, Cursed Wizard Path, First Level Wizard, Blood Wizard Path, Third Level Wizard, Soul Wizard Path. Inheritance Core Witchcraft, Resurrection of the Dead, Curse, Bloodline Real Body, Bloodline, Plague God Mutation Factor, Soul. Special Occupation, Formal Pharmacist, Formal Alchemist Physique, Mental Power, 35 Extraordinary Bloodline, Cursed Serpent, 4. No, brothers, I forgot about this data, so I can only do it roughly like this. It's almost all right, I'll use this data later, I'm playing with my friends today, and I'll make up for it now. The data is very dazzling, and it also clearly highlights Lin's insufficiency, that is, the deviation. Lin's other two wizards' paths are not completely equal. In the laboratory, he started to take out the refined life transformation potion, and he took it directly without any hesitation. With the digestion of the medicinal liquid, the medicinal effect is also acting on the whole body, and finally successfully brought Lin's mental power to an unprecedented height, and this moment is also the best time for Lin to break through. In the final stage of the curse meditation method, arrange and combine the inscriptions that have broken through to the second level to become your own second level core wizard spells. Boom. Consciousness began to resonate deafeningly. This is a torrent, the submersion of the sea, this feeling is wonderful. Lin quickly left, and then found where he wanted to go. The sketching of the inscriptions continued, and finally all the inscriptions were drawn, and the original difficulties were also solved one by one. The most difficult moment came, and that was the arrangement and combination of the inscriptions. Lin knew how difficult it was. Despite the existence of the life-changing potion, Lin's chance of success was only about 70%. This is already a very high probability. Lin took a deep breath, and the same is true of himself in his consciousness. His spiritual power exploded instantly, connecting all the inscriptions, and controlling them to perform a unique arrangement and combination, which originated from meditation. Law and the depths of the soul, the best permutation performed. Of course, it also has the best analysis result of the chip. Chapter 329. Women are so annoying. Why are they so annoying? It's Salt again, brothers. The best relationship is frustrated. Ah. I've broken up. Tomorrow at 5. I'll be back. Time is the least valuable thing and the most valuable thing, because nothing can buy time. However, wizards just conduct an experiment, which usually takes years and decades. Even among the mortals, a generation has passed, and the sorcerer has ended from the experiment. Card wipe. With the opening of the laboratory door, thick white smoke spread out, and a figure walked out, with the breath of vicissitudes and the passage of time, and accompanied by a powerful and unparalleled momentum. This is because the breakthrough has just been made. I still can't control my breath well. In an instant, the aura disappeared, and Lin managed to hide it. I can't think of this retreat and the past 5 years, and I have also successfully broken through to the second level meditation wizard, The path of curse has entered a new stage again, and the next step is to need a chip to give the second level wizard's meditation method to after deduction. I can continue to improve. There was joy in Lin's eyes, and a thought flashed past. Hint, the host successfully upgrades to the second level official wizard, increases his mental power by 10 points, and increases his physique by 20 points, and creates his own second level core wizard spell. Spell unnamed, effect, you can summon creatures from another world, sign a contract with them, you can consume energy to summon. This contract can be a trivial connection, as long as the other party allows you to summon. From this point of view, this sorcerer's spell seems to be grabbing the door and shaking people, and there are very few restrictions. Lin's eyes flickered. If he used it well, it would not be an extremely terrifying wizard spell. The upper limit was very high, and there was almost no limit. It was exactly the same as the resurrection of the dead. However, the latter uses a lot of flesh and soul knowledge. And the pre-extraordinary knowledge that this new wizard spell needs to be applied to is actually mainly about the soul in the void, and in this regard, Lin's involvement is also very profound, and can be used flawlessly. If that's the case, then this sorcerer spell is called the Advent of Another Dimension. After Lin took his name, he was ready to experiment. It seemed to involve information, that is, the connection between different worlds. With Lin as an anchor, he would bring the other party over. The original information was very weak, even insignificant, and there was no connection at all, but the advent of another dimension can magnify this connection infinitely. Interpunct 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 interpunct. That being the case, Lin took out some small things, which were fragments of related objects from Yama's world. Lin recalled that moment. The transaction with the other party and the successful escape from the door world. Lin still remembers this scene. But first of all, it is still necessary to solve the disgusting mold aggregate. Lin remembers the loss he suffered for the first time in the altar of the world. I don't know how many times I've marked it on the small book. Huangquan world, to be precise, Huangquan star. This planet is the overlord of the second self-cultivation star field, and the planet that Huangquan sect belongs to. This planet is very unusual. It can only exist if it is given to the son of Yama in the Huangquan sect. On the deep yellow planet, there are a lot of resources, as well as the starstone veins that make the loose cultivators crazy. At the highest mountain in the planetary world, in the magnificent hall, the solitary figure on the great seat closed his eyes, opened his eyes, the scene of the sticks flashed in his eyes, and his momentum exploded in an instant. This is the breath of the source of the spell. He came to this world again. Chapter 330. Yama seems to recall the sect and the expedition before the years, the things he experienced, and the transaction with the existence from another world. Although he didn't get much useful things, he greatly expanded his horizons. Knowledge of other worlds. He thought that in the future he would never have any chance to communicate with the source of the spell, but today he actually felt the breath, and it seemed that he still captured himself. The breath disappeared very quickly, and only appeared in 1,000th of a second. If it weren't for the great progress in my practice, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to catch this anomaly. First click. The armor on his body shook, and Yama stood up, as if an unknown king was affecting the entire planetary world. All beings on the planet showed their respect to where Yama was. This is, Wang Quanzong, the strong sense of existence of the Holy Sun Yama. Things are getting more and more interesting. I have a hunch that I can still see the source of the spell. A subtle smile appeared on the corner of Yan Luo's mouth. Whoops! The boundless wind and waves spread out from the depths of the sea, and instantly turned into a boundless cloud and mist, directly covering the whole planet world. The Wizarding World, the Black Triangle, the third floor of the Eternal City. A look of shock flashed in Lin's eyes in the laboratory. He looked at a symbol in his palm and remained silent. It was really possible. He just used another dimension to come, even though it was only 1,000th of a second. I still felt it, even watched a corner of the picture. That is the existence of Yama. Therefore, I, a core wizard, has a high upper limit of spells, and can realize some of the conjectures in my mind. The Shaking Man plan is possible. The next step is to start the realization of my flesh and blood plan, further improve the knowledge of flesh and blood, master the induction, and complete the flesh and blood embryo. After leaving the lab, Lin first learned about the events and information accumulated over time through the chip. After most of the processing, Lin also saw the news from his disciple, Kate. "Teacher, I'm all right. I don't know how you are doing. With the channel of the Alchemy Land and your help, my level is progressing very quickly, and I have reached the limit of a second-level wizard apprentice. Immediately I can become a third-level wizard apprentice. In addition, I hope to get the teacher's recommendation to enter the Pharmacist Alliance. Of course, this recommendation is only for the qualification of an assessment. After all, it is not the time for the assessment. All my life I just want to promote the greatness of the teacher and carry forward the teacher's inheritance." A smile appeared on the corner of Lin's mouth, which was interesting, but it was only a very small matter. As a disciple, Kate was also doing her due diligence. Lin was still satisfied. She thought directly, and sent a message to Orlando. After dealing with everything, Lin found that there were still 2 invitations that he had to go. But the time was in half a year and a year later. They were the invitation of thanks from the Dark Wizard and Fran among the 5 third-level wizards. The wizard's invitation seems to be to discuss a very important matter. Next, I need to focus on advancing to the second-level bloodline wizard, and the flesh and blood embryo has matured, so I can start. Chapter 331. Time really flies by in the blink of an eye. But there are also changes. Lin entered the laboratory without any excessive time to advance through the flesh and blood road, completely unaware of the recent sudden changes in the Black Triangle. Located on the edge of the Black Triangle, this is where a large number of mortal cities are located. Because it is too remote, few wizards come here, and even the rulers here are afraid and suspicious of the existence of wizards. There is no value for wizards, but it does not mean that there is no value for other existences. Some inexplicable existences have come here, setting off an unprecedented 30 evil sacrifices. Controlling all human beings, exerting a spiritual influence. It requires a lot of flesh and blood, and the human soul can be used as a material to do many things. Unprecedented blood red has formed in the sky above this area, unknown. Such a big movement is naturally detectable by wizards, and many wizard apprentices have come to check, but when they stepped into the place shrouded in red, they seemed to have lost their self-consciousness and moved towards the deepest place blankly. Go. A large number of wizard apprentices have already fallen. Such a big scene and situation has alarmed the official wizard. The official wizard naturally has a bigger vision than the wizard apprentice, and he knows more information. Just by looking at it from a distance, he can find out what caused this blood-red world. Damn. This is the arrival of the Scarlet Demon God. Who did it? A lunatic. The Scarlet Demon God most advocates chaos and brutal killing, Any orderly existence, a regular expression, is a challenge to his nerves. His whole life is in destruction and extinction. As long as there is more chaos, his power will be stronger. Looking at this situation, at least dozens of human cities have been destroyed. This official wizard has horror in his eyes. He knows the seriousness of the matter. This is not something he can handle. The Scarlet Devil is a 4th level existence, even a 5th level existence. No one knows the depth. It must be reported. Such a scale may cause the entire Black Triangle to fall into disaster, and it will be subversive in yours. The official wizard subconsciously looked into the depths of the red world, as if a pair of invisible blood-red eyes looked over. BFFT. Violence, killing, and chaos filled the eyes of the official wizard, and the next moment it exploded directly. The official wizard screamed and fled wildly into the distance, with the influence of the Scarlet Demon God in his mind. And doing all this, the hooded figure in black robe that led to the arrival of the Scarlet Demon God, was on the edge of the ritual formation in the castle. Almost all of his body was thrown to the ground in a frenzy and kneeling. The great Scarlet King, come to this world quickly, bring great miracles, the earth needs your fanaticism, and life needs your destruction. Lin in the laboratory is also in the white-hot stage of the road of flesh and blood. The flesh and blood embryo has been devoured and digested, and the corresponding energy has played its role in all parts of the body, enhancing his cursed snake bloodline. Evolution has begun. The bloodline of the cursed snake is increasing. Perfection. From the first stage to the second stage, this is a qualitative change, and it will be earth-shaking. Lin's pupils radiated purple light. Chapter 332. It's a little late today, and there will be Golem. As if the gas on the hot and fiery magma exploded. Consciousness is boundless and ubiquitous, but it is difficult to gather and feel it again. The result is that the speed of thinking is very slow to an unimaginable level. Lin's current state is very bad. After taking the flesh and blood embryos, it stands to reason that he should have successfully advanced to the 2nd level wizard. In fact, he did succeed, and the only variable was his own bloodline. What a terrifying super creature the cursed snake is. After the continuous evolution of its bloodline, it will experience some information fragments from the cursed snake's life. Those are some pictures, or it can be a feeling that the cursed snake has had, and Lin needs to bear it himself. These are unavoidable. And what Lin experienced was actually the most terrifying sleeping fragment, the information fragment recorded by the cursed snake when it hibernated. The feeling that there is no chance to wake up. I don't know how long it will last. A hibernation of the cursed snake is not according to the spring, summer, autumn and winter of the wizarding world, but according to the hormones recorded in the instinct of life blood. I don't know how long I have been sleeping like this. Lin's consciousness is scattered, and he must convey his awakening thoughts in order to get out of this state. Finally, Lin's consciousness gathered a few nodes, and clearly conveyed the thought of thinking. The only message of that thought was to wake up. Wake up. Awakening from this endless dark world. Deep sleep can't solve anything, only endless raging is the most correct instinct. With this thought in mind, Lin finally managed to escape. In the laboratory, Lin opened his eyes. Bloody, wild, domineering, ancient aura directly permeated, filling every part of the entire laboratory. If some weaker official wizards appeared here, I am afraid that I will be shocked and unable to move by this momentum, and I will be slaughtered by others. Hint, the host devoured the flesh and blood embryo and successfully advanced to the 2nd level bloodline wizard, mental power +2, physique +50, a steady stream of power felt all over Lin's body, making a sound like the rolling Yangtze River and the surging Yellow River. This is the trend expressed by the blood energy reaching a limit. The current Lin is very powerful, very powerful. If he fights against the original Lin and the current Lin, I am afraid that he will be killed in an instant. Every promotion is an earth-shaking change, there is no doubt about it. An excited smile appeared at the corner of Lin's mouth, and the next moment his body disappeared directly, appearing in the corner of the laboratory like a teleportation, and then disappearing again, appearing. And it continued for a long time. Lin, this is how I feel tired. I can actually achieve the ability like teleportation. My physique and bloodline blessing are really much stronger than ordinary bloodline wizards, and the same limitations are also great, but my flesh and blood conjecture experimental plan has been at a critical point, for money. As long as the experimental conjecture is successfully completed, the bloodline restriction of the cursed snake will not be a problem. Drag. Lin has this confidence. Since it is so similar to teleportation, this new bloodline ability is called snake teleportation. In fact, Lin was able to do this like teleportation. It was entirely his body that was moving at high speed, and his bloodline transformed his body, which was as terrifying, flexible, and high-intensity reaction as a snake. Chapter 333. The retreat this time seems to have lasted for a long time, and there are a lot of things happening outside! Lin felt the information accumulated in the wizard's tower. The retreat this time was useless for a long time. It was only about 2 months, but the improvement it brought was real. The chip transmitted the corresponding information to Lin's mind, and he gradually understood what happened this time. I didn't expect it to be a big event that scrolls the entire Black Triangle. A terrifying evil god caused unimaginable terrifying disasters, and even 5 third-level great wizards took it very seriously. Lin's eyes are very deep. After all, the characters involved are the Scarlet Demon Gods. They surpassed ordinary demon gods and reached a deeper level, so that the 5 third-level great wizards had no confidence in their hearts. Long before the endless years, this demon god was notorious and active in all the worlds, and the wizarding world was once harassed by him. So the information is widely distributed, and most wizards remember such a terrible guy. The strength is also far beyond the limit of the 3rd-level wizard. The 4th level has a great possibility, and even reached a higher level. It's an eventful autumn. Lin shook his head, but his strength has been greatly improved, and he can protect himself well in the face of corresponding events, and the situation is not so bad that the entire Black Triangle can't resist. At least, there is the eternal wizard. This statue exists in the seat. When the sky fell, there was a tall man on it. Wizarding Council. This is a meeting mode for the absolute high level in the Eternal City. There are only 6 members in total. Of course, because of the recent arrival of Lin, he has also become the latest member. The Eternal Wizard is the absolute chairman, and the rest are Lin and the 5 third-level wizards. The result of the discussion now is how to solve the problem of this evil god. Scarlet has occupied at least 1/20th of the Black Triangle area, and it is still expanding at an unstoppable speed. According to the exploration in the situation that comes out, the strength of the Scarlet Incarnation is at least the 2nd-level peak, and it can break through to the 3rd level at any time. As soon as the words came out, many 3rd-level wizards in the conference room suddenly fell silent, which was already a threat to their existence. If it really reaches the 3rd level, it will definitely be an indelible disaster for the Black Triangle. The content of the discussion is who is going to solve this problem. Neither of them need to talk to each other, nor take the initiative. This is not an easy job to deal with. It is best for everyone to go together to be the most fair. But obviously this doesn't show that some other places in the Black Triangle need 3rd-level wizards to suppress the guards. Don't look at the 3rd-level wizards appearing on the 3rd floor of Eternal City. In fact, their bodies are somewhere. At the entrance, there are some very troublesome passages suppressed. For example, the space rift leading to the underground world, leading to another world. There are quite a few places that connect with the wizarding world, and the danger inside is no less than that of the Scarlet Demon God. Almost all of them have important jobs, and there is no extra thought to deal with, or to take on such a chore. The Eternal Wizard took the first place in his clone, and just watched the discussion with his eyes closed, as if he had no intention of interfering with the speech. Lin also followed suit. It's none of his business anyway. He's just a newbie. Let the troublesome things be left to the bosses. In the end, after a long discussion, the result came out. Chapter 334. The 5 third-level Great Wizards are, the Dark Wizard, the Blue Wizard, the Black Star Wizard, the Ice Dragon Wizard, and the Totem Wizard. This time, the Scarlet Demon God incident must first cut off the transmission route, that is, prevent the spread of Scarlet, interrupt its growth plan, and limit it to a specific range. This task is only the most suitable for you to go to Black Star Wizard. You belong to the mechanical lineage, and Scarlet cannot impress mechanical intelligence. The Dark Wizard said calmly, and the other wizards also agreed. And you are different from us. You are good at machinery and foreign objects, which means that your clones are obviously not just one, but many. The consciousness can be scattered in various places. This task can only be handed over to you. The Demon God is limited, and we need to discuss it again later to see how to solve this evil god incident 1. The Black Star Wizard is wearing a dark black wizard robe, and his body can't tell what is going on, but there are mechanical parts on his face, and even his expression is very stiff, which seems to confirm what the Dark Wizard said. Regarding this result, the Black Star Wizard obviously has no surprises. It seems that he has already paid some interests in private to discuss it. The corresponding candidates have been decided, and the next step is to discuss the manpower allocation of their respective forces. In this regard, the Great Wizards do not have much hesitation. The forces are nothing more than tools to supply them. I have to say that this is a very cruel fact. Use it when it should be used. Every wizard force under the Great Wizard must send a second-level wizard. Other ordinary wizard forces also need to be selected. This is the decision of the Wizard Council, and it is useless for anyone to be able to violate. At the end of the Wizarding Council, Lin passed an iMessage to the Black Star Wizard. It was spread through consciousness, and no one else knew about it. Black Star Wizard's footsteps paused for a moment, and then continued to walk as usual. Lin, who got the accurate information, had a smile on his face, and the Black Star Wizard agreed to his request. Then he split part of the Plague God mutation factor, which was contaminated with some Black Star Wizard's mechanical puppets. Can be achieved. It has to be said that Lin has a very strong curiosity about the evil god. After all, it is related to an existence stronger than himself, and its existence is based on the magical effect of his eyes' Plague God mutation factor. Interpunct 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 interpunct. Evelyn has plans to capture an evil god clone in the days to come. Walking on the street on the 3rd floor, Lin murmured, "It's almost time to go to the banquet of the Dark Wizard." This time it seems that there are the two who got married last time. They are coming to participate. It seems that they are going to have a party. Thanks. It's fun. 1. Dark Wizards have an extraordinary relationship with these alien creatures. They definitely have some channels of their own, and even hide deeper secrets. This secret, Lin has a good heart, but it is useless and very strong. Why doesn't he have a secret? Just researching his own experiments and topics has become extremely difficult, and even a little tired. Inside the Dark Wizard's tower this time, The venue for the banquet is to choose a certain place in the tower space. As soon as he enters here, Lin has a strange feeling, which seems to be exactly the same as the feeling in the dark auditorium last time. Only the specific environment of the dark auditorium can allow those alien beings to come. Chapter 335. Lin recalled all kinds of things in the dark auditorium. It is almost certain that everything about the Dark Wizard is related to it. It seems to be a kind of channel and network, and even the existence of another world. Otherwise, how could there be two third-level existences casually, and the other wizards in the Black Triangle have no impressions and records? Lin was guessing, almost guessing the truth. Welcome to the Great Mutant Sorcerer. Under the leadership of the Headless Servant, Lin came to his seat. The dining table was very different from last time. It was estimated that it was specially set up to deal with the bodies of those two people. From Lin's perspective, the rectangular table turned into a square and a square. Every third-level person sat on one side, and the endless dishes were interrupted by the Headless Servant. Kai. Sticky and smooth. Ordinary people may experience a mental breakdown when they observed the true bodies of the King of the Extreme North and the Shadow Princess, and see some kind of indescribable great existence. This is caused by the fact that the essence of its own spirit is far from being equal. Only the existence of equals can see the truth of each other and will not be polluted by the spirit. In the eyes of these two alien beings, the Lin they saw was a mass of human objects that were indefinitely aggregated. They had no face, no body, and their existence was very special. Even they were fearful in their hearts. Ha ha ha, everyone is already seated, very good. This time, it is a special dinner to thank the Great Mutant Wizard Eye for his help. Thank you to the Great Mutant Wizard Eye for your face. The other two third-level aliens also expressed their respect for Lin like the Dark Wizard. But as long as it is either a traitor or a thief, there is only an absolute interest relationship, and there can be no sincere gratitude. Lin doesn't think that his own face can allow several third-level existences to behave like this. The banquet started soon and lasted for about an hour. The Headless Servant brought down the corresponding plates. The Great Dark Sorcerer stated his purpose. Respected Great Sorcerer of Mutation, I have a small request here, I hope you will grant it. It really came. Lin's eyes were calm, and he seemed to be waiting for the next sentence. The Dark Wizard glanced at the King of the Extreme North. The two aliens couldn't see their expressions, they could only vaguely perceive their emotions, as if they had encountered some trouble. Slap. A black flesh ball with viscous liquid flowed out directly from the bulging abdomen of the Shadow Princess, splitting the mouth and flowing out. 0. This is. As you can see, this is the child born by these two, but there is a very troublesome problem. I think if someone in the Black Triangle can solve this problem, only you, the Great Wizard of Mutation. The Dark Wizard said with an unsightly expression. He thought that he would not go wrong. In fact, with the help of the Dark Auditorium, he did successfully achieve the combination of two different types and 3 levels, but something went wrong when he was born. The situation is like this. With the explanation of the Dark Wizard, Lin gradually understood the specific situation. Although the offspring is born, it is an egg, and it has been unable to hatch with various means, and its vitality remains unchanged, but it is obvious that with the passage of time, it will die sooner or later. You want me to solve this problem and let it hatch? Lin's eyes were faint and he said slowly. Two descendants born at the 3rd level, this kind of taboo product, it is false to say that Lin is not indifferent, it may be able to improve a lot of flesh and blood knowledge, and advance to the next level, molecular. Chapter 336. The stage of flesh and blood knowledge, each stage is a huge leap forward. Entering the molecular stage may allow Lin's plague god mutation factor to evolve and become more powerful than far. All kinds of thoughts revolved in Lin's mind, and he soon made a decision. The opportunity must not be lost, and the loss will never come again. The species, blood, and genetic information of the alien 3-level existence span the offspring. I don't know if there will be any children born in the future. Almost encountered. The research has made clear the principle of the birth of this offspring between the two, the analysis of life, and the origin of species 30 also has a very bright road. Lin said indifferently, I can promise you, I have indeed gained a little in this regard. Lin has his own pride. If anyone in the entire Black Triangle can give birth to this child, then it must be him, no one. As for the study of flesh and blood, unless you can pull out the flesh and blood devil, you can compare with him and crush him. This is obviously impossible. Demon gods and evil spirits will not care about you so much. What kind of trading tricks do you play with your human wizards? Even if a contract is reached and a deal is made, if there is a chance, they will still do all kinds of means. Not worth the loss. There was a look of joy in the eyes of the Dark Wizard, and he quickly said, I don't know what the mutant wizard needs us to do and pay the corresponding benefits. This is within the wizard's rules, and I will not violate it. Please say the request. 2 3rd-level aliens, their bodies trembled, their mental pollution reached a peak, and the emotions they expressed were also excitement and joy. Explain in advance that it is impossible to be 100% sure. It can be said that I will do my best within the scope of my ability, and sign a corresponding wizard contract. This is natural. Then Lin signed a contract with the Dark and 2 3rd-level aliens, which stipulated various rules and regulations. The most important thing is that the Dark Wizard will give Lin 3 opportunities to use his Dark Hall, and some information about the existence of aliens is also entirely handed over. Lin's eyes well concealed the surprised look, which was mainly too surprising, because the alien existence came from another world. Lin has some guesses, but the world is not very simple. The most powerful being has reached the level of 5, which is a very powerful world. However, the existence of the 5th level has not appeared for a long time, and it is suspected to be dead. Now the most powerful one is the world where the 4-level heterogeneous emperors are the masters. After listening to the relevant information, Lin became interested, but at the moment, he still studies the issue of the air, and then considers other issues. The evil god can't affect this place for the time being, let alone a 3rd-level wizard has already dealt with it. If there is no major problem, it should be calmed down soon. My bloodline in the path of meditation and curse have reached the 2nd level, and the follow-up path needs to fall on the research of the chip. This can't be rushed, it will only take a few years to get the results. The path of the soul lies in the mutation factor of the god of plague. It seems that what I need is a period of precipitation, and I can't be too hasty, just to study the problem of this offspring. After all the matters were handed over, Lin took the Black Dome and returned to his wizard tower directly through the teleportation function between the wizard towers. Chapter 337. Chip, start the analysis task, focusing on the life form of this offspring. What form of life chain? How is it born from the combination of different life race forms? Lin thought about it, and put the black giant egg into the cultivation chamber, next to the new flesh and blood embryo cultivation chamber. But the flesh and blood embryo is no longer so powerful for Lin at this stage, unless he finds a more powerful transcendent bloodline to replenish it. But the current Lin's status and strength already belong to the top of the Black Triangle. With the current means, he can't find a more powerful extraordinary bloodline. One can imagine the difficulties. The 2nd-level bloodline is not too difficult, the difficulty is the 3rd-level bloodline, and it is almost the same if you can find it when you are full, but with these, even if you integrate into it, it will only improve the progress of the bloodline a little. Lin was not discouraged either, instead a smile appeared on his face. While taking over the research on this black egg, Among the benefits obtained are the dead body of the third-level wizard of the Ouroboros ring, the corpse and the corresponding bloodline. The bloodline of the fourth level is extraordinary. Everyone is wrong. It is estimated that the third-level bloodline wizard deliberately revealed it like this. It is cheaper for Lin. By fusing the blood of the other party, since the two are the same type of snake blood, the effect may be far more than 1+1, but also higher and more powerful. The source of the Serpent of Doom seems to be related to the legendary god of Ouroboros, who masters time, the 12 hours, the power of constellations. Lin licked his lips, unable to hide his excitement. Reminder, the analysis task has been established and completed. The estimated time is 5 years. Lin's eyes moved slightly. He didn't expect it would take so long, even more than the time for his follow-up meditation. There are still 4 years left before the successful deduction of the second-level meditation method. It's a little troublesome. I just don't know if this child can last for so long. It seems that we need to conduct branch research on how to supplement this guy's vitality and prevent him from dying in the egg. There was not much worry in Lin's eyes, because his level and strength increased rapidly. The Plague God mutation factor belongs to the fourth-level Soul Wizard stage, and the computing power of the chip has also been unprecedentedly improved. Even if there are a few more high, the intensity of the task can also be analyzed. As time passed slowly, Lin also immersed himself in the experiment, sealed off the wizard hour, and had no plans for the disturbance from the outside world. The sky is falling, the money is good, here comes the eternal wizard. With the participation of a third-level wizard, the evil god incident has made some obvious progress, and it seems that it will be completely resolved. Kate is also very successful in the Alchemy Land and the Apothecary Alliance. With Lin's relationship, her related extraordinary knowledge has improved very quickly. You shouldn't be playing with friends. Chapter 338. Time has passed and a month has passed, and the situation in the Black Triangle has become more and more delicate. The heretic god incident was not resolved very smoothly. Instead, the third-level wizard who went to deal with it was defeated and returned, and the corresponding avatars were also greatly polluted, and they were no longer the opponents of the Scarlet Devil god. This is obviously very wrong. The Scarlet Demon avatar grows into Waterping was a little too fast, and directly reached the stage of a third-level wizard. This is impossible. According to our divination and speculation, even if the Scarlet Demon god is strong and devours all the flesh and blood in the area, it is impossible to obtain such a terrifying improvement in such a short period of time. The restarted Wizard Council, this time many people were absent. Lin was not there, not even the Eternal Wizard. Only 5 third-level wizards were fighting each other. Do you think it's necessary for me to tell some lies, Totem Wizard? The only mechanical wizard was the Black Star Great Wizard, and there was great anger on his dull expression. He also wondered why the incarnation of the Crimson Demon God exceeded their expectations and got a greater improvement, so that he was suddenly attacked without any precautions, resulting in defeat and pollution. The blood-red light flashed through the eyes of the Black Star Great Sorcerer, and then quickly subsided. However, the chaotic atmosphere was still felt by everyone, and everyone was shocked. It was just an incarnation of the Black Star Wizard who went there, and he was able to affect the deity of Black Star in such a way. The Scarlet Demon God is more terrifying and difficult than everyone expected. I am afraid that if they change positions in the position of Black Star Wizard, the result will not be much better. Okay, now is not the time to quarrel, let's discuss how to solve this. The Great Wizard Fran was wearing a blue wizard robe and had a mask on his face, making it difficult for people to see his true face. He came out and said. His voice was not as cold as other wizards, but had a special gentle aura. However, such as the Great Totem Wizard and the Great Ice Dragon Wizard, all blinked, and it seemed that they didn't want to get involved. After all, It was a thankless task. The great dark sorcerer suddenly said faintly, "This time it is hard work for Black Star. The eternal great sorcerer sees everything in his eyes, and it is estimated that he is one step ahead of us. The test is carried out all the time, everyone." Immediately, when the wizards heard this, a deep light flashed in their eyes, and their faces sank slightly. Obviously, there was a slightly different idea in his heart, and he took a deep look at Black Star. No matter how lackluster the latter's expression was, there was a smug smile on his face. Whoever said that a mechanical wizard is stupid, his calculation center is faster than any wizard, and can calculate the most beneficial aspect for him. He took the initiative to target the Scarlet Demon God, and returned injured, and his body was affected. In this way, he can definitely be judged by the Eternal Great Wizard to have a great contribution to the Black Triangle. In the Eternal Entrance examination, the points have been added in advance. Many great wizards also wanted to understand this, and secretly annoyed the Black Star's cunning, thinking so much, so deeply. There was no longer any shirk, so he decided to go all out together and gather everyone's strength. Unless the Scarlet Devil came from across the border, all bulls, ghosts, snakes and gods would be directly suppressed. Distinguish yourself, you won't be able to overcome many storms. Chapter 339. In the laboratory, with the suggestion of time, the analysis results of the chip gradually became clear, and Lin also had more insights. The relevant knowledge of flesh and blood circulated in Lin's mind, constantly adding new ones, and constantly gaining insights. Knowledge is the ladder for wizards to progress. This sentence is not wrong at all. With more extraordinary knowledge and more principles, wizards can become unparalleled and powerful. Knowledge is also a wizard the source of power. Although it takes a long time to analyze the black egg, the chip has also analyzed the relevant medicines that can prolong its life. Lin frowned, that is, the raw materials for this related potion are somewhat difficult to obtain, and some things exist only in the original alien world of this descendant black egg. The information is as follows: unknown medicine, raw materials, several. Function: it can continue the vitality of the offspring black egg, which is of great help to alien life. The focus is still on those alien beings. Lin doesn't have to hide anything. On the contrary, exposing the news will make the two alien third-level and dark wizards believe in him even more. As a result, he found the relevant information route connected to the Dark Wizard Tower through the relevant information flow, and directly transmitted the corresponding information to the mind of the Dark Wizard in the form of email through information processing. As expected, the other party quickly accepted it and gave a corresponding reply. Respected mutant wizard, your profound knowledge has deeply impressed me. I will convey the corresponding information to the existence of the two aliens, and the relevant raw materials you need will be delivered at that time. The Dark Wizard was indeed shocked. He did not expect that Lin would be able to study the black eggs of his descendants to such an extent in a short period of time. If you give him time, maybe he can really solve the problem of the heir, the black egg, and I will not underestimate you. Hope is right in front of me, maybe this time it's really possible. Wizard Lin is more genius and scarier than I imagined. The Dark Wizard feels that it is the best choice for him and the other party to turn war into jade and silk. Dark, you are distracted, we are now preparing to solve the problem of the Scarlet Devil. This kind of state is not good one. Interpunct. interpunct 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 interpunct. On the platform of the teleportation formation, the Dark Wizard came back to his senses, smiled and replied to the figures around him, "Sorry, I got some important news just now, I'm just a little excited. It looks like a big happy event." Fran Wizard Po said meaningfully. The Dark Wizard just smiled at each other and didn't say much. Alien worlds and alien lives have a lot to do with each other. The thing is, the less people know, the better. The Dark Hall must not be exposed, and it only has an interest relationship with Lin. This is considered a grasshopper on a rope, and it is not a problem for him to know the secrets of the department. Anyway, the genius and age of the other party are enough to prove that the Dark Hall and related things will not be spied on by the other party, Greedy. The Dark Wizard has admitted that Lin has greater potential than him, and may be the biggest rival in the Eternal Assessment. In a flash of time again, this time, with the presence of the 5 major third-level wizards, the seemingly terrifying incident of the heretic god is finally coming to an end. Earth. Chapter 340. The scarlet curtain shrouded everything, as if rendering the world, and the entire cloud layer was also shrouded in viscous red fluff, with unknown mutant birds interspersed and flying, with their sharp mutant mouths, ruthlessly tore a bite. The fluffy flakes are swallowed into the belly, and as more and more fluffy flakes are swallowed, the degree of mutation of these mutant birds will become more and more exaggerated. In the end, even its own form could no longer be maintained, but was transformed into a combination of some kind of flesh and blood tissue mutation plus various open eyeballs. This is just the changes in the sky, and the changes on the ground below are even more complicated and terrifying. 5 terrifying figures appeared at the junction of the 2 different worlds. At the same time, part of Lin's consciousness also existed on a flying mechanical eye separated by the Black Star Wizard, which could observe the entire area where the evil god incident broke out. It seems to have gone out completely independently. Part of the Black Triangle area has been turned into a scarlet field. This is the other side's world. It's very difficult to deal with. Wizard Fran said with a faint look in his eyes. The slightly grumpy Totem Wizard said disdainfully, "As long as the Scarlet Devil doesn't end up in person, under the joint master of the 5 of us, no matter what the hell he does, he has to be suppressed." These words made many third-level wizards here agree. Suddenly, there was a big change in that scarlet world, and the fog that was blocking the line of sight gradually separated, and the true face inside appeared in the eyes of everyone. On the ground are the red crystals piled up in Dalian, like amber, with all kinds of life sealed inside, but it is obvious that the life force of the sealed life is being continuously absorbed, and finally turned into red crystals. Skeleton. Let's go, enter it and explore. This is only the outermost part. There is nothing dangerous and scary, only at the core can you find the Scarlet Incarnation. Along the way, many third-level wizards have encountered a lot of trouble, but they are only small episodes. Maybe it is very scary and troublesome for ordinary formal wizards, but for them who have reached such a level of strength, it is only a light touch. Take action, and you can wipe out everything. Soon they went deep into the core area, and they didn't have any hiding, they drove straight in, with a clear purpose. The resistance encountered is also more and more, and the continuous stream of scarlet-infected lives has turned into a chaotic existence to block their way. Zero for these chaotic beings, Scarlet is their master, their everything, blocking these outsiders, even if they give their all. Rosna Castle. This is a splendid city of mankind, the most luxurious center of the human region, and the beginning of the Scarlet outbreak started from here. The entire area, centered on this city, spreads out in all directions, and the endless red tide is like a backflow, guarding it like a pilgrimage. The scarlet incarnation is in it, and 5 terrifying figures float above the city, and they have already felt the terrifying aura. That tyranny, chaos, and the fundamental idea of returning everything of order to chaos. There is no doubt about it. It's really spectacular. The life energy in the entire area is gathered into one place. Is this scarlet? Lin's consciousness also began to become active. He manipulated the eye of the machine, opened the mechanical energy jet channel, left the Black Star Wizard, and headed towards the city. He is going to explore the city himself, to find out, or to see if he can collect some research materials about the Scarlet Devil God. Chapter 341. Seeing the eye of the machine leave, all the wizards present had strange expressions, especially the dark wizards seemed to have seen something. Black Star talked about dealing with the evil god. It's a little troublesome, this scarlet incarnation is lurking in this city, and we can't find it in the dark. There is a scarlet aura everywhere. Since that's the case, then the city will be directly destroyed. Now, if these scarlet crystals are destroyed, no matter how powerful the scarlet incarnation is, it cannot become stronger. The totem wizard said impatiently, this is indeed a very good method. So it began to be implemented. The third-level great wizards flew towards each district and 30 areas in the city, starting to destroy them from the edge, until they wiped out the city center. At that time, the scarlet incarnation can no longer be hidden, like a turtle in urn. Lin manipulated the eye of the machine and searched all over the city. In addition to following the agreement of the Black Star Wizard to help find the scarlet incarnation, Lin's own thoughts were also in it, otherwise he would not spend a lot of time on the division rate. Realized here. The observed picture is very complex, far more than a single red color, but there are many others. Just below the deep red crystal, it seems to be hidden underground. Lin noticed something strange, he no longer hesitated, and decided to go into the ground to investigate. Anyway, there are 5 third-level great wizards here, and he is just an incarnation of the Eye of Machine. There is nothing serious about this rate of consciousness. The plague god mutation factor is indelible. A huge ruin seems to have collapsed and shattered, and the underground space has been opened up. The gap in it is just enough for the eye of the machine to pass through. Sure enough, there are other things underground. I hope these 5 third-level wizards can find it, but I want to see what the truth is here. Lin directly manipulated the eye of the machine, and gradually approached a relatively large gap. The eye of the machine began to deform, the original energy jet channel was closed, and delicate feet stretched out around the body, similar to the feet of millipedes and spiders. Like a mechanical spider, it entered the underground. Boom! The sound of a huge explosion resounded throughout the sky. This was a large-scale destruction of the city by the third-level wizards, and not every inch of land escaped their attack. High-frequency energy shooting, elemental energy raging, ice element coverage. Every third-level wizard is a terrifying existence, and the power it emits is also extraordinary. Even if the crimson crystals are the product of the Scarlet Demon God, they can't resist their destruction. Soon, a city was destroyed by 7 or 8, and gradually spread towards the core area. On the other side, Lin has gone deep into the ground. This place is completely different from the outside. There are traces of excavation underground, and an underground palace has been built. In such a short period of time, a lot of life must have been used. Lin climbed from the wall of the underground space, and his strong claws clasped the wall to prevent it from falling. Everything about the underground palace came into his eyes, and he also saw the life of building the palace. On the platform in front, the skeletons piled up indiscriminately, like small mountain peaks, are really terrifying, and they are also covered with red crystals. Chapter 342. As Lin radiates consciousness to perceive, there is a high probability of guessing 7 or 8. The truth of the matter is here, including the trail of the scarlet incarnation. The compound eyes of the mechanical spider looked at the lofty altar in the center of the palace. A huge irregular crimson crystal was erected in the center, receiving the flesh and blood energy flowing from the groove of the altar, growing and accumulating. You can feel the sudden burst of excitement. It seems that it will explode in the next moment, and the terrifying existence inside is perfectly descended. Lin began to suppress his sense of existence and hibernated, just scanning and detecting through the chip to analyze the situation inside. Hint: after analysis and processing, a high-energy reaction has been detected, and there is a scarlet incarnation in the crystal. The strength has reached level 3, which is extremely terrifying. It is recommended to evacuate. There are companion products, scarlet crystals, scarlet origin coagulation blocks, and scarlet blood. Has a lot of value, and can be used as raw materials for medicine and alchemy. Through analysis, we can initially understand the structural nature of scarlet. Lin's eyes lit up. This is a good thing, it has great value, and he was moved. The evil god avatar in the red crystal is obviously unreliable to pay attention to. Lin's true body is not here, only part of the plague god mutation factor. It can't be the opponent of the evil god, and even the opponents only need a slap to smash the mechanical spider into pieces. An attention appeared in Lin's mind. He led this guy away, planned his savings in advance, and wanted to achieve perfection before coming out. At that time, the incarnation of the evil god estimated that his strength would reach a new height, which may cause many variables. Lin used the connection with the Black Star Wizard to convey the corresponding information to the other party. The message then came back. I didn't expect the Scarlet Incarnation to be hidden so deeply. Thanks to you, Mutant Wizard, let us completely solve this troublesome guy. Black Star Wizard is overjoyed. Not long after, Lin felt 5 terrifying auras gathered in the sky, and the release of terrifying energy erupted directly. Boom. The multicolored rays of light represent the different elements, as well as the invasion of different energies. When they came, they launched terrifying spells, and they seemed to be their core wizard spells. The face is the Scarlet Demon God, and there can be no carelessness, especially it is the Black Star Wizard who has already suffered a plot, and this time he must find his way back. The earth was pierced through a large pothole, and the soil layer above was also collapsed. The energy was released into the underground space, and spread to the skeleton group of red crystals and the huge red crystal erected in the center of the altar. Kai. This energy is also corrosive, and it seems to be the specialized means of one of the third-level wizards. Buzz. The huge red crystal in the center of the altar exploded with his own power, and the red ripples cut off everything. He finally couldn't bear it anymore. Although his perfect transformation was broken, there was no doubt, came Ditsao, who asked him if he had reached the third level. Arrest. There is no beauty in order, only eternal chaos is the end of everything. With a click, the Scarlet Avatar rushed out of the crystal. Facing the attacks of 5 third-level wizards, he was still very afraid. Continue to stay underground, sooner or later, it will be submerged and obliterated. Obviously, the third-level wizards also have this plan. It would be great to be able to kill the Scarlet Incarnation like this. Chapter 343. Buzz. The earth began to vibrate in a special way, causing the 5 third-level wizards who were carrying out spell attacks in midair to look a little abnormal. Black Star Wizard's pupils had electronic fluctuations. He caught something and issued a warning, be careful, something seems to be rushing out from here. Coming. The Dark Wizard stepped back a little and moved away a distance, holding a dark wand in his hand, brewing a dangerous atmosphere. The scattered smoke and dust were swept away by the ground, and the red energy that rose into the sky was directly connected to the sky, which seemed to trigger something, causing the situation here to begin to converge inexplicably. There is a lot of wind suction at the center of the burst of red energy. The scarlet energy from all directions has been sucked in. That's the scarlet incarnation. Stop him. The third-level wizards shot at the same time. They all had fear on their faces. They thought that the scarlet incarnation had not yet reached the third level, but unexpectedly something changed. It actually conveyed a strong sense of crisis. Atomic breath. The Black Star Wizard's body emitted a mechanical inlay sound, and the bionic skin of his arms was torn directly, revealing the muzzles of his wrists and wrists. The next moment, he aimed at the center of the suction and sprayed. The jet black high-energy alien energy shot out directly, like a dazzling rainbow, falling straight down and hitting. Other third-level wizards also have their own means. Click. The earth plate in this area could no longer withstand the explosion, and the terrifying energy release turned into a white light that completely diffused into the sky. Red is also in it. That is the power of the Scarlet Incarnation. He is not dead yet, he is still persevering, against the combined attack of the third-level wizards. In the underground space, this place has become a ruin, except for the altar, which is still intact. A mechanical spider crawled out of the dirt, crawled out of the gap in the slate, and ran towards the altar very purposefully. Soon came to the center of the altar. According to the chip's hint, the red crystal is what was left by the Scarlet Incarnation. Being able to study in advance the Scarlet Devil that may be involved in the existence of the fifth-level existence can play a great role in enlightening my future path. The mechanical spider began to deform, and at the moment of receiving the mutation factor of the God of Plague, it was already infected and alienated. Now the knowledge of flesh and blood has reached the molecular level, and it is possible to infect a mechanical inorganic substance. It's just that the infection and alienation are not complete enough. It is estimated that it is almost the same as the atomic stage. At that time, whether it is organic matter or inorganic matter, or even all kinds of energy life, element life will not be able to escape the infection of the mutant factor of the Aryan Plague. A special humanoid machine changed, and quickly took out the valuables in the red crystal. After everything was done, Lin started running. The Plague God mutation factor wrapped those valuable things, and the mechanical part was deformed again to wrap those things in the center, returned into a mechanical eye, and left this place with the jet of energy. Lin doesn't need to worry about the follow-up battle. 5 third-level wizards take action. No matter how powerful the Scarlet Incarnation is, there is no possibility of turning over. Next, it's time for him to prepare for his own experiment. After calculating the time, that can also begin. Chapter 344. In Lin's laboratory chip, name the new agent as a heterogeneous catalytic agent. Hint, name, heterogeneous catalyst, level, formal level 2. Several materials are as follows. Function: it can solve the genetic defects and growth problems of heterogeneous life. 1. The corresponding materials have been prepared, and Lin began to refine the heterogeneous catalytic potion in the laboratory. Only by solving the problem of the son of the Black Egg, can he get the reward from the Dark Wizard's bloodline of the Doomsday Snake Wizard. As a Lin's bloodline to enter the next stage, this is a very important thing. 11. Therefore, Lin also pays great attention to it. Chip, transfer the relevant steps of the medicine to my memory area. Lin closed the door of the laboratory and entered a state of deep retreat. During this period, no matter whether it is anyone or any news, there is no law to disturb it. Time flies, and soon 3 months passed. When the 5 third-level wizards of the Black Triangle's evil god incident were involved, the final result was undoubtedly a successful solution. But the troubles left by the evil god have almost permanently changed the landforms in some areas of the Black Triangle, and there are still many mutant creatures left under the influence of the power of the Scarlet Devil. This result was expected by all wizards. This is the main reason why evil gods represent trouble, and they are notorious. Clearing up such trivial matters as scarlet creatures is definitely impossible for the third-level wizards to dispatch again. Naturally, they are left to the wizards of the major wizarding forces, or many wizard apprentices. This is how the training begins. Under the leadership of their official wizards, the apprentices of every wizard force entered the infection zone and rushed to the relevant scarlet creatures. The result is that the scarlet infected area is slowly recovering, and the wizarding world also has its own repair ability. Killing crimson creatures can speed this up. Everything is developing for the better, and even a scarlet restricted area has been set up, a place for experience. It's a pity that the original human beings on this landscape are really dead and will never come back. Even among those scarlet beings, many of them are humans. Infected by the spirit of Scarlet, worship Scarlet, and implement everything for the idea of Scarlet. One by one wandering sects were born, and the wizards who entered the Scarlet Land frantically attacked. Damn it. These guys from the Scarlet sect are really a bunch of lunatics. It's not right to put good humans aside, and they actually choose to be lunatics. Interpunct 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 interpunct. Okay. Now is not the time to complain, we have to escape as soon as possible. Who would have known that there are so many members of the Scarlet sect lurking in the outer areas? A team of wizard apprentices hid under a hidden boulder somewhere, and launched a hidden formation. Their expressions were ugly, and their bodies were messy. They looked very embarrassed. 2 of the apprentice wizards, who looked to be in their 40s, were talking, and the others were resting. Scarlet Demon God is too terrifying. Just by venting his own power, he can create so many terrifying scarlet creatures and show strength no weaker than ours. One of them has deep fear in his eyes. The other person also had a memory in his eyes, remembering the horror of those people of the Scarlet sect. Okay, don't talk about it, let's have a good rest for a while. They can't find us for a while, and it's not far from here is the exit. There's our station city there, and it's safe when we get there. Gradually, they all rested, and no one knew that all this was observed by a scarlet creature lurking under the soil, a small beast that could burrow into the ground. Earth. Chapter 345. Brothers, do you want me to open another wizard book? Double open? Learn from this lesson and write well? Open? Not far from where they were, a large number of members of the Scarlet sect gathered around a girl who looked only in her teens, with a cold face and a strange red mark between her eyebrows, but this mark was coming. Slowly disappear. An old man of the Scarlet sect said, "We are not in chaos, and it is not what we want to master the power of the Scarlet, but the wizards have decided to exterminate us. It can be seen from the blocked Scarlet Lands that sooner or later we will all die inside. The Crimson Land will also disappear completely." The surrounding members are silent. They are very different from those who have lost their self-sanity and self-consciousness. They are very few sober people who are not dominated by the power of Scarlet, but are determined to change all of these. Shaka, you are the only one who can change our destiny. You are born with the ability to hide your scarlet power, scarlet mark. You are the only person who can escape your destiny. Now let's change it in our destiny. There were tears in the eyes of the old man. We will help you deal with the aftermath. Those wizards not far ahead are the best tools, which can help you enter the outside world and enter the wizard's world, where you need to be in a high position. For the wizards, we can save us. Go, Shaka, we will help you change the memories of those people, so that they think you are their member and a wizard enlightenment, the existence they brought into the Crimson Land for experience. The girl named Shaka opened her eyes, and there was a flash of sadness and reluctance in her eyes. Let's go, everyone is up. As the leader of the team and the most powerful wizard apprentice, Longwo subconsciously looked at the 10-year-old girl in the team. He was stunned for almost a second, and then said strangely, "That Shaka, you go and wake everyone up, we are leaving the Crimson Land." "Okay, Lord Longwo." Shaka responded, and the girl with the indifferent face showed a somewhat reluctant smile. But no one cares. In their consciousness and memory, this girl has always been like this. 0. Time went by again for 2 months, and Lin walked out of the laboratory. This time the retreat experiment, the harvest is still relatively large, at least the life continuation of the offspring black egg has been successfully solved. Under the warm light in the space, Lin was holding a test tube of medicine in his hand, with grey liquid rippling in it. It looked ordinary, and there was nothing outstanding about it. However, this is a heterogeneous catalytic agent that can exert a great force on heterogeneous organisms. The value of this potion is very high. Maybe I can use it to trade with alien beings and obtain a lot of rare resources that belong to another world. Afterwards, Lin notified the Dark Wizard of the news, and he got feedback soon. The Dark Wizard expressed his joy, and at the same time, he readily handed over part of the Serpent of Doom to Lin. After getting what he wanted, Lin did not delay, and let the chip extract the fusion point of his own blood. Prepare to use the blood of the Serpent of Doom to study new flesh and blood embryos. Chapter 346. Inside the cultivating warehouse, a mass of grey-brown meat core, under the insertion of many nutrient tubes, absorbs a large amount of nutrient liquid, supplementing sufficient nutrition for its own growth. Some subtle tremors appeared on the surface of the meat, and his growth rate was astonishing, as if there was an inexplicable invisible force that catalyzed genes. The Serpent of Doom deserves to be a 4th-level bloodline. Even if it has been dead for a period of time, the bloodline can have a very strong vitality without sufficient cultivation. Lin had a look of admiration on his face, as did his cursed serpent bloodline. Even after countless years have passed, the core of that little bloodline still exists, making Lin proud to cross the boundaries of 30 human beings and extraordinary. The Serpent of Doom and the Serpent of Cursed are both level 4, and they also have their own particularities. Curse. Doom. Driver. Lin believes that if the flesh and blood embryo is successfully cultivated this time, it will definitely bring unexpected changes to the bloodline of the cursed snake, such as acquiring some inheritance abilities of the Snake of Doom, mastering some abilities in time, mastering divination, and mastering fate. Some ability. This is undoubtedly difficult. Both are level 4. If the Snake of the Curse wants to devour the Snake of Doom, it will take a lot of work, not to mention the danger of backlash. This point needs to be processed by Lin himself, how to solve the rejection between the two, and how to solve the resistance of the Snake of Doom. Combining the core factors between the two, the bloodline has reached a higher level of promotion. Time, I need a lot of your time to calculate and solve, and a lot of resources. Lin felt the pressure, so although the chip can support the computing power, the entry will be slightly slower. After all, he is not an almighty god, he has his own limits. It seems that only part of the calculation tasks can be properly discarded. After Lin's self-judgment, he temporarily gave up his studies on pharmacy and alchemy. The most important thing at this moment is to improve his own strength. After all, the eternal assessment will take hundreds of years to come. This matter is related to an abnormal item. If it can be obtained, it will become a complementary existence with the Book of Vientiane. It is very important, Lin must get it. In other words, you must get a good level in the eternal assessment, at least the top 3. Every third-level wizard is a strong one on one side. Tianjiao has grown up after countless hardships and has his own opportunities and secrets. I can't underestimate the other side, and I must go all out. Lin's expression is calm, then he will fully study the flesh and blood embryos and things about the path of stars, which will help and complement his soul path and must be carried out. The promotion of the blood path to the 3rd floor is listed as the main line. The resources required for meditation are too huge. If you want to advance, you need a lot of resources to refine medicines and help speed up self-meditation. For the time being, it is listed as a secondary line. After some planning and calculations were made, it became clear in an instant. I have never forgotten Abel's target. I must go to that crypt world again, and it must be liquidated. If the Star Road reaches the stage of a formal wizard, you can lock its world by obtaining information and combining the anchor point positioning of the chip, pass through the gate of the world, directly pass through the past, or take part of your own plague god mutation factor in the past to carry out self-development. Breeding. Chapter 347. Time flies. Half a year has passed like this. In the center of the laboratory, a huge round arched portal appeared. As the energy gathered, the rays of light scattered, and the unimaginable terrifying pressure gathered together. If it broke out, it would set off an earth-shattering explosion. Of course, Lin will not let this happen. He has made all preparations. After half a year, he has successfully cultivated the flesh and blood embryo containing the Serpent of Doom, and solved the problem with the Serpent of Curse. The same as the 4th level exclusion, the shackles are solved from the root. Of course, this is only limited to these 2 similar bloodlines, both of which belong to snakes. If it wasn't for the fact that there was a breakthrough in exploring the remains of the Scarlet God, and the knowledge of flesh and blood was improved, there would still be a big problem to solve this problem. Doom embryos need more time to grow. Can't be in a hurry. This time, Lin, the gate of the world, intends to enter the crypt world and solve Abel as the first thing, and the second is to see how powerful that world is and whether he can try to occupy it. One thing Lin has never forgotten, that is about the invitation of the wizard Fran. It seems that he has something to ask him, and the time is recently. Lin began to separate about 1/10 of the plague god mutation factor, and directly submerged into the gate of the world, and the corresponding anchor point has been positioned. As the avatar's consciousness was a little trance, under the staggered isolation of time and space, he came to another strange land. Here is Crypt World. Light never came to the nose, only darkness is the way back to everything. The Mother of Darkness embraces us and brings us the chance to bloom in life. Heavy and solemn prayers echoed in this solemn church. A large number of figures closed their eyes and prayed. They were old and young, male and female. The most peculiar thing was that although they were in the shape of humans, they had one more eyebrow between their eyebrows. Eyes and ears are also generally about twice as large, tall and strong, with slender limbs, and even long and sharp nails for some reason. A 10-year-old child in the farthest corner is about 1.7 meters tall, and adults are generally 2.2 meters tall, and a different color of thinking flashes in his pupils. That kind of light of wisdom is definitely not something that a 10-year-old child can possess. In fact, the general wisdom of the people here is not high. The IQ is probably less than 100, and very few people exceed 100. As for the level of developed IQ, it is more than 150, which is even rarer, and generally they are employed in important positions. For example, working as a priest, as a nun, as a staff member in this dark night church. Lin has been in this crypt world for about 3 days, and he probably understands some of the situation in this world. People here call themselves Noahs. Noah means the ark, which is the human beings who escaped from the catastrophe of the world. Lin's thoughts were fast and he was able to think of more. If the light does not come, darkness is the way back to everything. Perhaps it represents the current situation of the Noahs. Money. They have always lived in the underground world. They have no clear concept of the world on the surface. They are just classical records. According to word of mouth, the world on the surface is the source of disaster, and the underground protects them. Although to accept eternal darkness. But the protection of the official Dark Mother allowed them to survive. Thinking from another perspective, a general concept appeared in Lin's mind. This world seems to be very interesting. Chapter 348. Lin came to this world and occupied the body of a dead Noah, which is now Lin. Of course the name here is Aiden. The cause of death was because he was attacked by a night beast while exploring the barren areas outside the city, and he died. The underground world is not peaceful, but has various dangers. The Noahs built underground cities, and the high walls blocked the peeping of the night beasts. Within the walls, the Noahs were self-sufficient, but some necessary items and resources need to be found outside the city walls, the most important of which are special ore veins that can generate energy. Provides the power reserve of the whole city. It is worth mentioning that the level of technology of the Noahs is very strange, like the technology tree is crooked, belongs to steel smelting, steam development, but also has unscientific energy flight devices, which can achieve 820 in the entire underground world. Face travel. Of course, it's only limited to the city. There is only one end to doing this in a barren area. It's torn to shreds by the terrifying night beast. With the passage of time, the prayers gradually ended, and some Noahs gathered here accepted the blessings of priests and nuns and left the church satisfied. But Lin did not act, but remained in place, waiting. He has a purpose, to be precise. He needs to climb to a high position to develop the follow-up things. The original body is fortunate to be a smart person with more intelligence than, and can take up higher occupations in some cities. If you really want to count Lin's wisdom, I am afraid that the Noahs in the entire city add up to their wisdom and computing power are not as high and huge as him. Abel, even if you hide in the ends of the earth, you can't escape your predetermined destiny, as long as you are still in this world. Lin's eyes are extremely deep, and he doesn't like the profession of the church, because it doesn't involve the real high-rise city level, and he perceives the real secret of the city, that is, it involves the extraordinary part. This world is very unusual. Night beasts and Noahs, as well as underground and surface, there are many places worthy of Lin to study. Night beasts have no doubt mastered the existence of extraordinary power, and the Noahs were able to resist in the underground world, and they also built such a huge and brilliant city. I don't know how many such cities are, which is enough to prove that human beings it is also a black technology that has mastered extraordinary power, or is side by side with it. Everyone in the church had already left, except for Father Evernight, Sister Evernight, and some clergymen. The status of the church is very high, but it is just a name in terms of reputation. There are not many rights in fact. Although they are respected, their value to Lin is very low. Compared to Aidan, who wrote me a letter and got a recommendation, what method will you use to convince me to let me write a letter of recommendation for you to enter the promise that only the truly intelligent Noahs can enter? Among the Asian special colleges and institutions. Father he is about 50 years old and about 2.3 meters tall. He is the tallest among the Noahs, and his stature is a little thin, but in front of Lin, he is much taller than him. The night nun on the side looked at it with a smile. She looked very kind. This child is going to suffer. The Noah Special Academy is the absolute top institution of the Noah people, and it is highly confidential. Some of the things in it are absolutely linked to extraordinary power, and they hide the Noah people's top technology and knowledge. As long as Lin enters it, by storing a large amount of information on the chip, it is almost possible to study the truth of this world. Chapter 349. The identity of the original body belongs to the child of the high-level elite who died in the Battle of Noah City, and it is regarded as the son of the powerful and powerful. It is a pity that for some reason, the original body does not know this, because he has not been accompanied by his parents since he was a child, and some spiritual psychology disease. For example, he painted on some important buildings in Noah City, and even painted pig heads, turtles and other things with dyes on the walls of the city lord's mansion. This is disrespectful, but the original body was not hurt by any scolding, but the trivial matter was turned into nothing, and it was just tolerated. This is already what can be explained. According to some memories of the original body and the attitude of some important people in the city, Lin is afraid that the parenthood of the original body is not so simple. In this way, some operations can be implemented simply. Lin took out an envelope from his bosom with a special lace inscription on it. He seemed to have some thoughts, and handed it to Father He. When he saw this envelope, Father He's expression changed. There was pain and reminiscence in his pupils, and the eyes that looked at Lin became more and more sympathetic. But Lin knew very well that the letter inside the envelope was not the most important thing. What was important was the lace inscription on the envelope, which was a symbol of his parents. With this, the contents of the envelope will be considered to be written by his parents. Father He opened the envelope, looked at the contents, and looked at Lin with a complicated look. Every word in it was written by Lin imitating the handwriting of his dead parents, and he was naturally clear about the content. It was nothing more than to let him enter the Noah Institute of Higher Education and study there. Ask these old friends for help. The object of choice is also very particular. The chip analyzed the cheap little home of the original body, and some hidden information, such as the bottom cabinet buried in the yard. Lin still pretended to say, "Respected Father He, this is a letter, I found it at home, I have read the content in it, it was left by my father, and you can help me enter the academy." A monk. Father He said softly, "You are sure that you want to enter Noah College? It is not an ordinary place. Once you enter it, it means stepping on a different road, and you may encounter an irresistible crisis. And a heavy responsibility to shoulder the future of the entire Noah city and protect the safety of the people." Interpunct. Lin's eyes are full of determination, and his face is full of a sense of mission. "I will never back down, I believe I can do it. And I also want to know the truth of this world, those monsters I have seen in the wild." Father He also knew about the fact that the original body had sneaked out of the city, but fortunately, he came back safe and sound. "Okay, since that's the case, I'll write a letter of recommendation for you to enter Noah's Academy, and I have one more thing for you." Father He took off a special talisman from his neck. It was a blindfolded woman with wings. There were two pairs of wings. One pair covered the upper body and the other pair covered the lower body, forming a mysterious atmosphere. Talisman. The night will protect you forever. Lin took it and found something very different about this talisman. It was suspected to be extraordinary. Earth. Chapter 350. After all, Lin is a third-level Great Wizard. Even if he enters this world with only 1/10 of the Plague God's mutation factor, if he is full of power, it is not a big problem to spend a little time destroying this city. But Lin did not rashly reveal it. There is a special detection method in this city, which can detect abnormal places in the city anytime and anywhere, and it also gives Lin some sense of crisis. At least it has reached the level of a second-level wizard. It is a pity that it is very incomplete, as if it is a dead thing without self-awareness, and the sense of crisis is not very big. At least if Lin wants to leave, no one can stop it. What's more, the most subjective purpose of Lin's visit this time is to find the place and kill the Abel who once calculated him. Maybe it's hidden somewhere in this world. Let's first figure out some truths of this world, such as the extraordinary road system, and the map division of the world. After Lin has fully adapted to this world, it is time to use divination to kill Abel. Judging from the attitude of the other party at the time, it is obvious that they are very familiar with the connection between each other's worlds, and their identities are definitely very unusual in this world, perhaps the top group. The touch of the amulet is similar to icy metal, but there is a wave of particles different from the spiritual energy of the wizard spread into Lin's body. The characteristics displayed are tranquility, meditation. It's a bit like the crystal pendant that his father gave him in the mortal period. Thank you, Father He. Lin said solemnly, it is nothing more than acting. He has long been accustomed to it. Aiden, you have grown up and have such a stable personality. I seem to have begun to look forward to your performance in Noah Academy. Father He nodded in satisfaction. There is no sunlight underground, but Noah City has a special underground roof system that can simulate the light suitable for Noahs. But it is only suitable for Noahs, but it is not suitable for ordinary humans in the wizarding world. Lin went through the back door and entered this legendary Noah Academy institution in the eyes of Noahs. Dong dong dong. Please come in. A woman's voice came from the door. Lin and the Dean of Noah College were sitting on the sofa and talking. No, it should be said that the elder is talking to the younger. All your formalities have been completed. Now you need to allocate dormitories first, and then you need to learn some things from you. Dean Ruth added, something that looks like a fantasy. I hope you don't panic too much. If you pee your pants, don't blame me for not reminding you. Lin said confidently, I am a man who has even seen a real night beast. How could I be afraid? Like what a confident little boy should look like. Ruth shook her head and said, I hope it's what you said, but what we want to see is not an ordinary night beast, and the real terror is also our Noah's biggest enemy. Pressing a hidden switch on the seat, a deep passage leading to an unknown place was immediately revealed on the wall. Lin followed Ruth in the passage. It was the oldest passage, smelled of earth, and was lit with torches. Ruth said the name, I am the greatest enemy of mankind, the Night King,